What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
6EC. Chapter 51 Identity Revealed. Advertise here. Lin Chen touched Perona's head and said nothing. There were many people here and it was not the time to talk. Lin Chen turned to look at Crocodile beside him and said, "Clean up all the clues around you." After hearing this, Crocodile searched the surroundings carefully and found the only photo. Holding the photo that Crocodile handed over, in the photo, Saint Chalmok held a pistol in one hand and hit the three Perona people, and his arm was pierced by a thunderbolt. After taking a satisfied look at the photo, Lin Chen continued. "Put this photo out, and at the same time spread the news about the kidnapping of Saint Charmaine everywhere. If the world government cannot find the murderer, it means we slap them in the face." Crocodile nodded. It was very easy to do this in the underground world now. After doing all this, Lin Chen took Charmakushung and everyone back to Windmill Village. After such a long time, the sky got dark very early, and Ace Luffy Sabo and Sugar became sleepy early. After parting ways with the Red Hair Pirates, everyone temporarily returned to the dawn, and the ship of the Red Hair Pirates was right next to the dawn. Watching Luffy, Ace and others sleeping peacefully, Lin Chen felt much more relaxed, but Perona's little hands were still clutching the corners of her clothes, even if her eyelids started to fight, as if she was afraid that she would be killed in the next second. Just like disappearing. He turned around and glanced at the people at daybreak. "Let's talk about it tomorrow." After hearing this, the other members of Dawn also returned to their respective rooms in tacit agreement. The only people left were Lin Chen, Perona, Long, Rayleigh, Dayton and Maginot. The Mangekyo with his eyes slowly turned, and a black giant body appeared on Lin Chen's body, leading several people away from the Dawn. When Perona saw Lin Chen's familiar moves, the last stone in her heart dropped. Arriving at Maginot's tavern, everyone gathered around Lin Chen. Under the gaze of several people, Lin Chen slowly took off his mask. When Lin Chen's face was revealed, everyone had different reactions. Rayleigh looked at Lin Chen with a puzzled look, as if he had seen this person somewhere but couldn't remember. Perona looked at Lin Chen's familiar yet unfamiliar face, and when she reunited with the person in her memory, she couldn't help but cry softly. Why don't you come back, to lie to us?" Hearing Perona cry, Lin Chen's mood was extremely complicated. He hugged Perona and comforted her quietly, but no matter what, the two finally met. "You guy." Long looked at Lin Chen's face and was speechless. The most important point was finally understood by him. Madara turned out to be Lin Chen, who had been dead for many years. Not to mention how Lin Chen was resurrected. Long patted Lin Chen on the shoulder. He could imagine how miserable Lin Chen had been in the past few years. After all, he also has the identity of a revolutionary army. He is always very careful every time he meets Old Man Garp and Luffy, but he has to do this for the cause in his heart. And Lin Chen is hiding his identity. Even if the person he knows the most is right in front of him, he still has to bear not being able to meet him. The pain he has to endure must be much greater than himself. Lin Chen looked at Long, his lips trembled slightly, but he still shouted those words. "Brother." As soon as these words came out, Long's heart was touched a lot. When Lin Chen died, he also saw how decadent Old Man Garp was. With that look, he obviously regarded Lin Chen as his family. Dayton and Maginot on the side also reacted. "Are you Lin Chen?" Dayton looked at Lin Chen and was speechless with excitement. A figure wearing a marine cloak also flashed in Maginot's mind. Rayleigh also suddenly realized. No wonder he looked familiar. Isn't Lin Chen the marine who almost got into a fight with him at Sabayati Archipelago a few years ago? He couldn't help but sigh in his heart that Garp had such a big heart that he even adopted the only two people related to Roger. Only. Except for Perona, who was in Lin Chen's arms, everyone looked at Lin Chen in confusion. How did he come back from the dead? Lin Chen looked at everyone's confused eyes and shook his head. The process isn't important, is it? Hearing Lin Chen's words, several people's hearts moved. As Lin Chen said, it doesn't matter how he survived. The important thing is that he came back. This is the greatest gift to these people. Rayleigh watched Lin Chen move his lips, as if he wanted to say something. He was more concerned about the original truth, why Lin Chen, who was once marine, became like this now. But now that he has boarded Lin Chen's pirate ship, he also wants to see how this young man will mess up the world. Perona slowly fell asleep in Lin Chen's arms. Long glanced at Perona and then looked at Lin Chen and asked. "Old Man Garp and Guillaume." Lin Chen's eyes flashed with warmth when he heard the names of these two people. "I'm not in a hurry to tell them yet, but I believe we will meet soon." Hearing Lin Chen's words, Long let out a sigh of relief. Now that Lin Chen's identity is revealed, it is only limited to those closest to him. I am afraid that he will not be exposed to the world government until dawn and the Revolutionary Army have controlled half of the world's participating countries. After checking that it was getting late, everyone returned to their respective rooms to rest. Early the next morning, when Perona opened her eyes and saw Lin Chen, she realized that this was not a dream. Her brother was really back. Flicking Lin Chen's hair, Perona enjoyed this hard-won warmth, and Lin Chen, who pretended to be asleep, did the same. By the time Lin Chen got up, it was already close to noon. After such a long time, he finally had a good sleep. When Lin Chen showed up in the pub without a mask and showed his true appearance, everyone was shocked. Shanks could fit an ostrich egg into his mouth and looked at Lin Chen in disbelief. The same goes for Rocinante. Lin Chen touched his chin and looked at everyone in confusion. What are you looking at me for? Eat. As he spoke, he quickly swept away the food on the table, and the others woke up from a dream and immediately joined the battlefield. After lunch, the group went fishing with nothing to do, mainly because Lin Chen wanted to go fishing, and the others had too many doubts in their minds, so they followed. Rayleigh finally saw Ace, whom she had longed for, and smiled kindly, wanting to hug Ace. But when Ace saw Lin Chen, he immediately forgot about Rayleigh and followed Lin Chen around with Perona. Uncle, I will become a strong man in the future. Defeat the world government and celestial dragons to avenge my uncle. Lin Chen shook his head when he heard Ace's words and didn't take them seriously at all. You, just enjoy the fruits of victory from now on, leave this kind of thing to me. Chapter 52 Leisure Time. Advertise here. During the fishing trip, Lin Chen also answered everyone's questions one by one. The members of Daybreak also learned that Lin Chen was once the most dazzling genius in Marine. Genius. That's just a false name. In response, Lin Chen just smiled faintly, and the past passed by with the wind, and he no longer wanted to miss the past. Shanks took a sip of wine from the bottle and said with a red face. It would be great if that guy Hokage knew you were still alive, hiccup. At first we really thought you were seriously injured and died by Kaido, and we fought into the beast's pirates together, ha ha ha. Hearing Shanks' words, Lin Chen felt warm in his heart. He snatched the wine bottle from Shanks' hand and blew on it. The afternoon sun was shining on Lin Chen, and he felt very comfortable now. Rocinante walked to Lin Chen hesitantly. He had very complicated feelings about this former colleague after spending such a long time together, and he didn't know whether he should speak or not. Lin Chen, you should also know my true identity. Is there really no room for turning around? Lin Chen glanced at Rocinante lightly and said, Rocinante, after all these years, have you really not discovered the real source of cholera in this world? If you don't want to do it, I won't keep you. For the sake of past kindness, I can let you go. As for whether you want to announce my identity or not, that is your own business. I am no longer the same person I used to be, so what if I am an enemy of the world? Do you really understand my strength? Quote. After hearing Lin Chen's words, Rocinante's heart froze, but he still stayed. Over such a long time, he also understood the strength and purpose of Dawn, but he really didn't hope that one day a war that would affect the world would break out. Just judging from the strength of Lin Chen's men, he is already imitating Marine's style and preparing to quickly succeed Marine in order to win the war in the future. If a fight really breaks out, whose side will you be on? Rocinante himself didn't know, so he chose to stay. Time will give the answer. Looking at the dragon in the distance using Luffy's arm as bait to catch sea kings, Lin Chen's mouth twitched. He finally knew how the shoe prints on the dragon's face came from. Dad, spare your life. Ha 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 ha. Little Luffy, don't you think this is fun? Today, after Lin Chen's identity was revealed, Long Yi and Luffy officially recognized each other. At the same time, Shanks also learned about the relationship between Ace and Lin Chen from Rayleigh. What surprised him even more was that Lin Chen was Captain Roger's brother-in-law, and Ace was Captain Roger's posthumous son. This also made Crocodile, who had previously guessed Lin Chen's identity, a little embarrassed. Fortunately, there was no big mouth to spread the word. Dad, help! Luffy suddenly screamed in the distance on the sea. Looking carefully, the dragon actually caught a sea kings with Luffy. King of the offshore. The sharp-eyed people around immediately recognized this sea kings. Perona sat in Lin Chen's arms and looked at Luffy nervously. The same goes for Ace and Sabo on the side. Lin Chen smiled softly. With so many strong men here, could it really be possible for Luffy to be eaten by the king of the offshore? Shanks, Beckman, Rayleigh, Dragon, Crocodile, Enel and many more. It can be said that once the forces currently gathering here are exposed, even the world government will panic. But seeing Perona's worried look, Lin Chen flew into the air and took action without saying a word. Let's eat the king of barbecue offshore today. Fire style. Fire and destruction. The sea dragon's face was a little hot due to the heat wave, and his face, which was already dark, became even darker. Boy, watch carefully. Having said that, he quickly hugged Luffy in his arms and felt relieved after seeing that nothing was wrong. Seeing Lin Chen take action, the others were not idle either. Shanks and Rayleigh burst out Conqueror's Haki at the same time, which caused the offshore king's originally twisting body to stop immediately, and he was too shocked to move. Crocodile's sand turned into big hands and grabbed the king of the near sea and flew into the air, and then the sand turned into a plate shape to hold the king of the near sea. Enel looked at the offshore king who was being grilled, touched his chin and said thoughtfully, I'm afraid this dish alone is not enough. As he spoke, he flew to the sea and summoned thunder to shoot into the sea. After a while, countless seafood emerged from the sea with a burnt aroma. The longan on the sea was quick and picked up a few seafood and stuffed it into Luffy's mouth. Hurry up and help daddy try to see if it's cooked. Lin Chen's mouth twitched when he saw Long's appearance, but he still focused on his barbecue. Under the full release of S-level ninjutsu, the King of the Sea soon began to smell like meat. Looking at the ferocious head of the King of the Near Sea, and then at the group of children below him, Lin Chen did not hesitate to use Dust Escape to eliminate the unpalatable and ugly parts of the King of the Near Sea, leaving only the best part. After all this was done, it was already approaching evening, and everyone had a luxurious barbecue feast under the afterglow of the setting sun. In the corner, Monet was eating the meat of the King of the Sea in small bites with sugar. The deliciousness of the food made both of them very happy, and they didn't let go of it at all. Sister, why don't we go over and play with them? The young sugar looked at Luffy and the others who were playing together in the distance with a meat skewer in his hand, feeling a little envious. Monet was stunned, looking at Lin Chen's back with complicated eyes. The one named Luffy is Lin Chen's brother's nephew, the son of the leader of the Revolutionary Army Long. He is also the grandson of marine hero Garp. Ace is Lin Chen's brother's nephew, Perona is Lin Chen's brother's sister, and Sabo is Luffy and Ace sworn brothers. After hearing Monet's words, Granu didn't understand the meaning. But isn't brother Lin Chen also our brother? After hearing Gran Tang's words, Monet lowered his eyes and his voice was a little weak. Different. Sugar was a little confused. She didn't understand what was different. She just looked at the crowd in the distance and was filled with envy. Chapter 53 Emergency Meeting. Advertise here. Hey, what are you two hiding here for? Come over and play. Little Sugar, you are about the same age as Little Ace and the others. Hurry up and get to know each other. You know Ace is my nephew and you are my sister. Doesn't that mean Ace has an aunt? Ha 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 ha. Don't you want to tease your little nephew? Lin Chen's words suddenly appeared in their ears, which caught them off guard. He held Granu in his arms and scratched her little nose, then wiped the oil from Granu's mouth. Little ladies should look like little ladies. How can you run over and play with them like this? Ace and the others behind him ran over, including Perona, looking at Monet from time to time. Ace was a little confused when he saw Lin Chen hugging Sugar. Uncle, who is this little sister? Sartang felt a little shy after hearing Ace's words and buried her face in Lin Chen's chest. What are you shouting for? Let me introduce you. This is Sugar, that is Monet, both of them are your aunts. What? But this Sugar is obviously so small. I don't want to call her aunt. Hearing Lin Chen's words, Ace was filled with disbelief. It was really hard to accept that a little girl who looked younger than him was actually his aunt. Lin Chen slapped Ace on the head and said unceremoniously. What? You brat dare to talk back to me now? Rayleigh, who had been staring at this place, finally found a chance to show off, and immediately came to Ace's side to protect his calf. What are you doing, you brat? You are not allowed to hit my grandson. Lin Chen glanced at Rayleigh but didn't say anything. Old people always save face. After all, he was kind-hearted and was willing to save some face for the old man. No matter how you say it, Sugar is your aunt. From now on, you should treat Sugar like an elder when you see her. Hearing Lin Chen's final words, Ace's face was full of despair, and his status was reduced by 1. After taking a look at Luffy and Sabo, I didn't feel so uncomfortable anymore. No matter what, I was still their brother. Putting down Sugar from his arms, old man Rayleigh had watched Sugar grow up after all. He picked up Sugar with a kind expression on his little hand. Don't be afraid of strangers, little Sugar. You will be my little daughter from now on. Don't be afraid of strangers with Ace and the others. We can just play together. After being comforted by Rayleigh, Sugar no longer had the initial fear, and soon started to play with Ace and the others. Before leaving, Sugar looked back at Monet. She still couldn't understand what Monet's sister said at that time. Now it seems that everyone is the same, Sutang thought in his mind. Looking at Sutang's leaving figure, Monet's eyes were a little hazy, and for some reason, even looking at Lin Chen in front of him was a little blurry. Lin Chen touched Monet's head, looked at Perona and smiled. This is Monet. You two should have a good conversation. I won't disturb you two for whispering. Perona's face turned red with embarrassment, and she rolled her eyes at Lin Chen. She grabbed Monet's arm and ran to the side to whisper. After a while, the two of them became familiar with each other. From time to time, they would look back at Lin Chen and then giggle at the same time. This left Lin Chen a little confused, but seeing these people living happily made him feel very happy. Lying on the lawn and looking up at the bright moon in the sky, Lin Chen was humming an unknown ditty. When will the bright moon come? Ask the sky for wine. I wonder what year it is today in the palace in the sky. I want to ride the wind back home, but I'm afraid of beautiful buildings and beautiful houses. It's cold at high places. Dancing clear shadow, like in the world. ... After a while, everyone got tired of playing, and they all lay down next to Lin Chen and listened to Lin Chen's ditty. Brother, what song is this? Perona's words also raised doubts in everyone's minds. Tune from my hometown. Everyone was stunned when they heard Lin Chen's words. After Lin Chen had been with them for so long, they seemed to not even know where Lin Chen's hometown was. On the contrary, Lin Chen remembered his origins one by one. People like Perona, Monet, Sugar and others were all adopted by Lin Chen, and Lin Chen only mentioned that he was Roger's brother-in-law. Where is my brother's hometown? After hearing Perona's words, Lin Chen fell into memories. I already couldn't remember my home, but I still spoke slowly. My brother's hometown is a big place. There is no war or hunger there. There are planes that can fly everywhere in the sky. You can just sit wherever you want. There are all kinds of delicious food, and there are many good TV programs. There are also various games. Let me tell you a story about my hometown. My name is Bandit King. Everyone listened to Lin Chen describing his hometown and his story. They fell into it after a while, and fell asleep as the story ended. System, are you there? Lin Chen called for the system in his heart. He had a strong desire to share at this moment. He wanted to take these people to his hometown to have a look, if possible. Hello host. Can you return me to the world I once had? Can't answer. Then do you know how I came to this world? Can't answer. Lin Chen gave up the idea of continuing to ask. It would be impolite to ask any more. After taking a look at the people around him who had fallen asleep, Lin Chen changed his position and fell asleep. Naval Headquarters, Marineford. After taking a shower, Guillaume walked out of the bathroom, picked up the necklace Lin Chen left behind and put it on his neck. Click. Frowning, Guillaume looked at the necklace in his hand and felt a little at a loss. The necklace he had been protecting was now broken. Touching the crack with some distress, Guillaume felt a little depressed. Looking at the photo of Lin Chen on his bedside, he could no longer see that young man with a hearty smile. Sitting alone on the bed, hugging his knees and looking at the photos of Lin Chen in his hand, Guillaume was licking his wounds alone like an injured kitten. Bang, bang, bang. Marine has called an emergency meeting. Please ask the Guillaume Vice Admiral to go immediately. Guillaume frowned. An emergency meeting was called at this time. Although reluctant, this kind of emergency meeting is usually held only when a major accident occurs. Grr. Hey, what's going on, Mr. Garp? Guillaume, come to the meeting immediately. Garp just said this and immediately hung up the phone. Guillaume held the phone in his hand and had a bad feeling in his heart. Grr. Sister Guillaume, please come first. Grr. What's wrong with Hokage Admiral? Guillaume. You better come first. In just a short moment, these three people called him at the same time. Guillaume's heart suddenly shrank. What happened? Get dressed and quickly come to the emergency meeting room of Naval Headquarters. Looking around, they are all generals above Vice Admiral level. When she came to Garp's side, Guillaume looked a little confused, but when she saw the photo on the panel clearly, her pupils shrank, and then she burst out with fierce murderous intent, attracting frequent glances from the Marine generals around her. In the photo, Charles Mark was throwing a pistol at the three people in front of him, and his arm was pierced by a lightning pillar. The rest of the people may not be familiar with who two of the three are, but how could Guillaume not be familiar with them? Those two people are none other than Perona. Ace. Garp held Guillaume's arm, which made Guillaume's murderous intention dissipate a lot. Looking at this scene in the photo, Guillaume looked at Garp with scarlet eyes, trembling and speechless. Garp looked solemn and signaled Guillaume not to panic yet. Then Sengoku walked to the stage, picked up the microphone and spoke slowly. According to reliable information, Charmic Saint was attacked and kidnapped in East Blue. The murderer is currently unknown. The purpose of this emergency meeting is to discuss this incident. Charmic Saint must be rescued. Chapter 54. The murderer is a dragon. The atmosphere in the Marine conference room was a bit depressing. Sengoku only showed clues from a photo. It would be difficult to find the murderer based on this photo alone. Akainu was smoking a cigar, and the shadows in the conference room covered his face, making it difficult to see his expression. After a long time, Akainu put out the cigar in his mouth and asked a question that shocked Guillaume. Who are the three children in that photo? Charmico Saint appeared in East Blue before he disappeared. In this case, we just need to investigate the identities of the three children and whether there are any strong people around. And the little girl among the three children looks very familiar. Hearing Akainu's voice, everyone nodded. This was indeed a good suggestion. At the same time, what made them confused was what Akainu said. What was the identity of the little girl? It actually made Akainu feel familiar. Kizaru's glasses flashed with white light, and he spoke quickly while everyone was thinking about the little girl's identity. But we can't rule out that this was the action of a passing strongman. After all, Master Celestial Dragons is. But it's really scary that someone dares to attack Celestial Dragons. Kizaru had a look of fear on his face, but the obscene expression on his face made one have to wonder whether this guy was really scared or fake. Sengoku glanced around the conference room, frowned and asked. Are there any more ideas? The world government is pressing hard. If there are no other ideas, then just follow Akainu's suggestion. The discussion here in the headquarters is to wait and see what happens. After all, what is the secret behind the scenes? We still don't know what they are thinking about kidnapping the Celestial Dragons. Be careful, this is a conspiracy against Marine and even the world government. As he spoke, Sengoku looked vaguely at Garp in the audience. After all, they had been old friends for many years. Although the two had drifted apart after the Marineford incident, he still seemed to see something from Garp's expression. And the moment he obtained the photo, he had already identified the identity of the little girl in the photo, Perona, who was secretly sent away under the protection of Garp and others many years ago. It's not like the world government didn't secretly investigate where Perona was sent by a few people. It's just that after snatching the snow fruit at dawn and destroying the world government's influence in the underground world, the world government no longer has the ability to investigate. There are no clues about Perona, and the matter will be lost. I remember, that little girl is Perona. Akainu narrowed his eyes and looked at Sengoku and said. Hearing Akainu's words, Gion felt nervous and stared at Akainu. After all, Akainu's reputation was always exposed. The generals around him were a little unfamiliar with this name and started talking about it. Perona. Never heard of it. Does anyone know who she is? Is he the heir of some great man? Listening to the discussions of the people around him, Akainu ignored Gion's gaze in the distance and glanced at Sengoku on the stage. Seeing that Sengoku didn't stop him, he spoke slowly. Perona, Lin Chen's sister, Vice Admiral Garp's daughter. After a pause, Akainu continued as if he had thought of something. Is it possible that someone saw Charma Keshan attack the three children and then attacked Charma Kushung to save them? After all, the thunder pillar hit Charma Kushung's arm accurately, but not something ordinary people can do. Sengoku felt that Akainu's answer was very reasonable, and his eyes signaled Akainu to continue. Akainu grinned. If he continued, he might involve news that had been buried by everyone, but he still said it. If we assume that the person who attacked the celestial dragons was Perona's family, or the family of the other two children, did he take action because he saw the celestial dragons attacking his family? This method seems to be very similar to that of a certain person. As he spoke, Akainu looked at Gion in the distance. Only a few people present knew the meaning of his words, while others were naturally confused. Hearing Akainu's analysis, Sengoku, Garp, Kizaru, Aokiji, Suru and Gion all shrank their eyes. If you dare to take action against the celestial dragons, you must be on the opposite side of the world government. Currently, the enemy on the surface is the Revolutionary Army. I don't need to explain the relationship between this. Akainu's words instantly ignited the entire meeting, and many generals started discussing. Did the Revolutionary Army take action? Are they going to declare war on the world government? We, Marine, should also make plans early. We must clean up this cancer. Sengoku glanced at the people discussing and said. Quiet. After thinking for a while, Sengoku continued. The meeting is over. Akainu, Aokiji, Kizaru, Garp and Crane are staying. The rest of the meeting is dismissed. Specific operational tasks will be issued tomorrow. Listening to Sengoku's words, everyone was a little confused, but they still followed his instructions. Gion glanced at Garp worriedly, and Garp shook his head and whispered. Don't worry, it may not be that boy long. You should go back and have a good rest. You will go back to East Blue immediately tomorrow. Looking at Garp's old face and graying hair, Gion clenched his fists, looked down at the necklace around his neck, and felt a little guilty. Not only did he fail to take good care of Garp, whom Lin Chen regarded as his father, he also failed to take good care of Lin Chen's sister and nephew. At this time, Gion wanted to fly back to East Blue immediately to investigate the situation, but she was no longer the impulsive little girl she once was. Having become vice admiral at the age of 24, she naturally did not get promoted simply by relying on martial arts. When the crowd dispersed, only Sengoku, Suru, San Admiral and Garp were left in the conference room. Zephyr now only cares about teaching students, and is no longer involved in all marine affairs, and naturally did not appear at this meeting. Sengoku glanced at the people on the field, and the atmosphere was a little subtle. Akainu didn't think too much and said directly. Now that all the unaware people are gone, let me tell you straight away. This attack is most likely related to dragons. Hearing Akainu's words, Garp felt shuddered, but now that he was discussing this matter from Marine's standpoint, he couldn't defend his revolutionary son. Akainu glanced at Garp again. This once majestic marine hero was now in danger like a candle in the wind. His son joined the Revolutionary Army, Lin Chen died in a conspiracy, Marine's political confrontation, and the world government's layers of pressure. All these things made Garp become more haggard. And Garp has to do this. In order to give Gion a good promotion prospect and not to be suppressed by the world government and other people in Marine, he has been silently carrying all the pressure. This may be because Zephyr is unwilling to continue. Reasons to take care of marine affairs. Sengoku and he looked at each other and both came to a conclusion on the matter, but it was a little different from Akainu. There is a high possibility that the murderer is the Revolutionary Army, but don't forget the emerging organization Dawn. After all, we have dealt with the Revolutionary Army. They usually don't attack the celestial dragons directly. They just operate in secret. This will directly expose them. On the contrary, it does more harm than good to them. Besides, we don't rule out that pirates are responsible. In short, let's focus on the Revolutionary Army and Dawn first, and then on the pirates. When we go to East Blue to investigate clearly, all the truth will naturally come to light. Hearing Sengoku and his analysis, everyone nodded. Even Garp secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Having one more suspect meant that the dragon's safety was even greater. He wished he could put all the blame on Dawn. body. After all, this organization originally prevented him from competing for Snow Fruit. After everything was discussed, everyone had some new plans. Kizaru, who owns the sparkling fruit, is naturally the best candidate for this matter. He will go to East Blue overnight to investigate and has all the command rights of the East Blue Marine. At the same time, Aokiji will also be sent there, along with Garp and some vice admirals. Akainu was sent to the New World by Sengoku to guard against pirate unrest and attack the marine base. This also made Akainu feel very depressed. However, according to Sengoku, he could rush back to Marineford from Mariejois at any time if needed, which surprised him a little. But he probably still needs pressure from the world government. After all, this kind of thing still needs someone who can be trusted by the world government, and he is the best choice. Chapter 55 Gion and Haju. Advertise here. Early the next morning, the entire Marineford was in action. Countless warships sailed out of the port. It was hard to imagine that Marine had dispatched so many combat forces because of this incident. Looking around, there were no less than 2 buster calls. This made the uninformed Marine take a breath, thinking that he was about to attack the big pirate of the New World. But when they discovered that the warships were heading towards the first half of the Grand Line, they all became confused and kept guessing about the content of this mission. Gion stood alone on the bow of the warship, looking at the sea in the distance in a daze. As the vice admiral, she now had her own warship. After going back and thinking about it last night, she also discovered something unusual about this matter. All in all, Perona and the others should not be in much risk. But she would not place the children's safety on her own reasoning. Only by seeing them in person could she calm down. There was a sound of trotting from behind, and the adjutant of the warship from Gion ran over. Gion Vice Admiral. Gion turned to look, and the adjutant's words brought her thoughts back to reality. Boju. What's the matter? What's the matter? There are only 2 of us here. Don't be so alienated. Just call me sister. Boju paused, looked at Gion with some worry and said. Sister Gion, you have been like this since you first boarded the ship. What happened? Is it related to this mission? If you have anything, please tell me. I can help you now. Gion was stunned when he heard Hajo's words, then shook his head and smiled. I don't have anything to do, so thank you for your concern. Boju stared straight at Gion's expression, but didn't really find anything wrong, so he asked again. Gion-sama, do you know what this mission is? This is the first time I have seen such a big battle since first joined Marine. Isn't it to clean up the pirates? If so, I will definitely kill them all. As he spoke, Bojo's eyes showed a terrifying murderous intent. This kind of murderous intent was rarely seen even in Gion. Gion thought for a while and said, this mission is not something unspeakable. It's about a Tianlong pig. Huh, but this matter may involve my family, so I'm a little anxious. Tenryupig. Gion-san should be careful not to be overheard. I have also heard of all the evil deeds of celestial dragons. Gion-san is indeed somewhat similar in calling them that. Ha 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 ha, they are just a bunch of trash. I will definitely. As if he realized that he was about to say something outrageous, Gion immediately closed his mouth and looked around. Only Aokiji on the warship next door took off his blindfold and glanced at her, but he didn't say much. After taking a look at the various scars on Boju's fair arms, Gion suddenly became curious about her life experience. After all, Boju's killing intent just now was no less than his own killing intent against the celestial dragons and pirates. By the way, I remember that Boju, you were selected as a Marine from the Marine branch of New World. I heard before that there was a very perseverant kid in the Marine recruit of New World. He was promoted to the headquarters under the exception. It couldn't be you. Bar. Boju smiled, his eyes curved into a crescent shape, looked at Gion with some annoyance, and said. I've been on Gion-sama's ship for a year, and you're just asking about my origins now. Gion was a little embarrassed. He was so focused on improving his strength that he didn't have much thought to care about the people around him. And Boju became his new lieutenant exactly a year ago, and she is also a girl. This also gave Gion one more person to chat with, and over time the 2 of them became like sisters. There was a hint of memory in Bojo's eyes, but more of it was pain. Then he chuckled again as if he remembered something, and finally turned into a trace of sadness hanging on his brow, which made people feel pitiful. I come from a small island in New World, but I was attacked by pirates. Hearing these words, Gion was startled. She took another look at the scars on Bojo's arm and already had some guesses in her mind. She also regretted why she asked about Bojo's origins. As if he noticed Gion's expression, Haju didn't care and continued. Originally I thought I was going to die, but he suddenly appeared to save me and gave me hope to live. First joined Marine just to follow in his footsteps. Unfortunately, he has passed away. After hearing Hajo's words, Gion suddenly became curious about the person she was talking about. He is. Hearing Gion's question, Boju was stunned for a moment, and then said with some doubts. Maybe he is not a well-known person in Marine. I asked about him after I came here a year ago, but I still couldn't find out anything about him. As if she had thought of something, Bojo's eyes showed a firm look and she continued. At the same time, I have another target that I must take revenge on, Kaido. He died in Kaido's hands. If he hadn't saved me, he might not have fought with Kaido. As a result, his injuries worsened and he died unfortunately. After hearing what Namiru said, Gion asked as if he had heard it somewhere. Don't know his name. I might have some impression. Lin Chen. Gion's pupils shrank suddenly, and he felt as if he was suffocating. Gion-san. Gion came back to his senses, his breathing became easier, and his eyes showed a hint of sadness. Does Sister Gion know the news about Lin Chen? Looking at Hajiju, Gion nodded slightly as if he had made a decision and said. Lin Chen, you are my lover. Gion turned around and looked around, and found that no one was paying attention to them. Gion whispered again. Lin Chen did not die at the hands of Kaido. He was framed to death by some people from the world government and marine. Bojo's eyes slowly began to open wide, as if he had discovered something terrible, and he was speechless for a long time. Seeing Bojo's appearance, Gion took her hand and came to the room. Along the way, he told Boju about Lin Chen and the real cause of Lin Chen's death. For a long time, the shock in Bojo's eyes could not be eliminated. Her mouth was wide open and she could not speak. She sat blankly on the chair, as if her strength had been drained from her body. While Gion was telling the story, a large number of marine warships also arrived at the destination of the mission, East Blue. Chapter 56. Gathering at East Blue. East Blue, Windmill Village, Dayton's pig pen. Lin Chen pinched his nose and glanced into the pigsty. At this time, Charma Kushung had all his limbs broken and was lying in the pigsty like a pig. The pigs around him nudged him with their noses from time to time, and their little eyes stared at this somewhat different kind of person with confusion. It's time to eat, it's time to eat. Crocodile knocked on the rice bowl and came to the pig pen, took a look inside, smiled and poured the pig food into the trough. More than a dozen pigs squeezed over quickly. Charma Kushung's mouth was dry and he struggled to twist his limbs to squeeze in. But unfortunately, he was only greeted by pigs' butt, and from time to time, pigs would kick him with their hind hooves. Hateful. After all the pigs were satisfied and dispersed, Charma Kushung climbed into the trough with difficulty. Looking at the remaining swill, he put his head into the trough and ate hard. Seeing this scene, Lin Chen smiled softly, turned around and called out to the dragon. How about it? This guy has turned into a veritable Tianlong pig. Long glanced at Charma Kushung with some disgust, looked at Lin Chen and asked. Marine has sent a large number of warships to East Blue. Aren't you panic? I heard that the leaders are Kizaru and Aokiji. The world government also attaches great importance to this matter and has sent many good people. It's a pity that I couldn't find out. Lin Chen didn't pay attention to what Long said, but asked about another thing. The photos of the attack on celestial dragons have been distributed all over the world, but it is estimated that those news media do not have the courage to report it. Currently they are only circulated in the underground world. We have to find a way to make the photos spread to civilians in affiliated countries. And now this Tianlong pig's appearance must also be photographed and released. Hearing Lin Chen's words, Long was a little frightened. Is this kid going to start a full-scale war with the world government and marine? Even if he adds the power of his own revolutionary army, and at most one red hair pirates to his dawning power, it would still be a bit impossible to fight against the world government and marine. After taking a look at Long's expression, Lin Chen knew what he was thinking. Brother, why are you so cowardly? I won't really go to war with them. Now I just want to weaken the deep-rooted impression brought by the celestial dragons. I just want to let people all over the world know that the celestial dragons are just like this. If they live like pigs, they won't be afraid in their hearts. Don't worry, I won't kill Holy Charma, it's not yet time. After hearing Lin Chen's words, Long was still a little worried and asked. What about the marine side? They have at least 15 warships, plus all the marines in East Blue, 2 admiral leaders, and many vice admirals. Old man Garp must have seen Perona and Ace in the photo. I have to come back, what will I do then? Will it turn into a mess? Don't worry, Marine won't let them come in vain. I have a plan in mind. When the fight comes, we can just run away from the comm belt. By the way, let that guy Enel come over. I have something to tell him. Hearing Lin Chen's words, Long was a little confused, but he didn't bother to think about it. This younger brother was far more capable than him at the moment. At worst, he would just run away from comm belt as he said. After leaving here and calling Enel over, Long went to do his own thing. There were still important things to do today, and Luffy had to train hard. Brother Madara, what's the matter? Although they already know Lin Chen's true identity, they are still used to calling him Madara. After all, they have been doing this for the past few years, and they are really not used to changing their names. Lin Chen doesn't care about this. Didn't you say before that East Blue also has Sky Island? Let me tell you, that is not Sky Island. Not Sky Island. How could that be? I know you're in a hurry, but don't worry yet. After saying that, Lin Chen looked at Crocodile who was cleaning the pig pen and said. Isn't the information from the underworld detective correct? It's that person in East Blue who did it. Crocodile was concentrating on cleaning up the pig manure and said without raising his head. Don't worry, don't you still believe in my abilities? This is that guy's island. Lin Chen chuckled, and now he found the person to take the blame. Enel looked at the two of them with some confusion. Who is that guy? Is the island in the sky really not Sky Island? Then why is he in the sky? Lin Chen rubbed his brows when he heard Enel asking questions like a curious baby. You haven't heard of that guy. His name is Golden Lion. He was one of the three great pirates along with Whitebeard and Roger. When Roger was captured, he made a big fuss in Marineford. Sengoku and Garp teamed up to capture him and imprisoned him in the undersea prison. I broke off my legs a few years ago and ran away, but I didn't expect it to be hidden in East Blue. By the way, he is also a lion fruit user. He used his ability to float those islands. Enel touched his head and asked. Then what does he have to do with us? Lin Chen was too lazy to explain anymore and simply said. It doesn't matter. He is the one who takes the blame for us. Enel suddenly understood. This way he understood. Lin Chen has done a lot of work in the past few years. He has a general understanding of the distribution of many powerful organizations in the world. Since Dawn was born, they returned to East Blue and focused on investigating the power of East Blue. This also confirmed that Golden Lion was in East Blue, but they didn't know what he was doing in the sky every day. Since there is such a pirate with a notorious reputation, Lin Chen doesn't have to use it in vain. He has already planned to use him as the scapegoat for this incident. Enel discovered the floating island in the sky during an accidental launch. He thought it was Sky Island, so he ran over to ask Lin Chen. When Lin Chen knew that Enel had seen the island in the sky with his own eyes, he was even more certain that it was the Golden Lion, and he felt a little more confident. Glancing at Crocodile, who was still teasing Chalmok Saint in the pig pen, Lin Chen frowned. This guy no longer regards Chalmok Saint as a human being. Look what he did. Personnel. Of course, Lin Chen selectively forgot that this was all his suggestion. It can be said that what happened to Charmakushung was caused by him, but he only thought that this was a normal thing. Time passed by, and Marine's fleet had already gathered at East Blue. Kizaru, Aokiji, Garp, Gion, Crane, Fire Mountain, Ghost Spider, Flying Squirrel, Dalmatian, Storoberry, Doberman and other generals, even Smoker and Hina from Logue Town were transferred here, and the entire East Blue also became serious because of Marine's action. Marine's extremely luxurious lineup has shocked the whole world, and even more people dare not underestimate the reputation of celestial dragons. After all, the Admiral would arrive just by being attacked by the celestial dragons, let alone someone dared to kidnap the celestial dragons this time, which was something that had never happened before in history. In the New World, countless pirates also fell silent at this time, not because they didn't care about this matter. It is precisely because this incident is so shocking that they have already smelled something amiss. If they provoke Marine and the world government at this juncture, they will definitely be violently retaliated against. After all, in the past, Marine would only send one admiral to take charge of the New World, but this time all the headquarters, combat forces are deployed. This lineup plus the world government is enough to sweep away the New World. It can be said that Marine's deployment this time also flexed its muscles, allowing some those who are disdainful dare not act rashly. The world government has also mobilized many forces in secret, which should not be underestimated. The five elders also have their own plans. After all, it's time for the world government to return to the underground world. Otherwise, like this time, even the news of Charmakushung's kidnapping would have been released by others instead of being informed of it by themselves first. This feeling makes them extremely uncomfortable. This time, he is bound to regain the right to speak in the underground world. Besides, Dawn is also on the suspect list of the murderer. You can also use this incident as an excuse to use Marine's power to touch Dawn. Wouldn't it be nice for the world government to reap the benefits? All in all, world government and Marine are not fools, and neither is Lin Chen. As for who is the fool, it is probably only the one who takes the blame in the end. It all depends on who is better at the game behind the scenes. Chapter 57 Yuta. Shanks. Shanks. A little girl staggered over and looked at Lin Chen and asked. Uncle Lin Chen, have you seen Shanks? Lin Chen touched his head, thought for a while and said. I haven't seen anyone. By the way, his ship is not at the port today. Did he abandon you and run away? Hearing this, the little girl's eyes turned red and she said angrily. No way, Shanks won't leave me. Lin Chen saw the little girl in front of him looking like she was about to cry and quickly comforted her. Uncle lied to you. Shanks went out to buy you delicious and fun things. Just wait here. Yuta's eyes lit up after hearing Lin Chen's words. Okay, but I want to play with Luffy and Ace Sabo Sugar. Yesterday we made an appointment to go cliff jumping together today. Listening to Yuta's words, Lin Chen's brows twitched. That guy Long was leading these kids to do something every day. Why did he start playing with such exciting things at such a young age? Are all kids today so good? When they first arrived in Windmill Village, Yuta happened to have a fever and fell ill and had been resting on Shank's boat. Later, after she recovered, she quickly played with a few people. During the time when Shanks stayed in Windmill Village, Luffy and the three of them did not stop looking for Yuta to play with. When Sugar also joined the small group of four, the five of them often hung out together, and Perona was always watching over them. Speaking of which, Lin Chen was very surprised that Yuta was the daughter of Shanks, but later he learned that Yuta was Shanks' adopted daughter, just like her relationship with Old Man Garp. But this also made Lin Chen feel a little unbalanced. Why did Shanks have such a lovely daughter? When could he have one? With a slight sigh, Lin Chen also brought Yuta to the dragon. At this time, the dragon was conducting devil training on Luffy and others. What surprised Long was that Sabo was the hardest working among these people, while Luffy, Ace and Sugar were reluctant to learn these basic moves. I want to learn powerful moves like my uncles and stop squatting here every day. Ace was yelling, obviously very dissatisfied with the dragon making him squat. Luffy immediately followed Ace in complaining. Dad, I'm so tired. I don't want to squat anymore. I have to jump off a cliff with Yuta today. Listening to the complaints of the two people from a distance, Lin Chen said rudely. Why, you can't stand this little pain. If I remember correctly, you were complaining to me that Grandpa Garp was the one who trained the most, but Brother Long has shown mercy. Luffy and Ace's left ear went in and the right ear went out. When they saw Yuta's arrival, they had already forgotten Lin Chen's words and looked at the dragon with pitiful eyes. Long waved his hand and let a few people go. They immediately ran out with Yuta to have fun. Lin Chen was helpless. The idea of having a child was dismissed. After all, if his child was disobedient like this, then he would be furious. Looking at the children's retreating figures, Long smacked his lips. Hurry up and play while you can. Then he looked at Lin Chen and asked. How's the investigation going at Golden Lion? When are you going? Lin Chen looked up at the sky and said. We will go when Shanks comes back. In this situation, at least one of the three of us in the village must be in charge to feel at ease. Now the pirates in East Blue are like frightened birds, and their whole spirits are tense. I am afraid that they will easily riot and cause trouble. But I have already thought of a countermeasure in my mind. Time passed by and Shanks also returned to Windmill Village. Lin Chen and Long both stepped forward and asked. How about it? Shanks shook his head. Marine's warships have basically entered the East Blue Range. The main force is currently in Logue Town, and the leading force has already rushed towards the kingdom of Goa. After thinking about the aura he inadvertently felt, Shanks finally expressed his uneasiness. I met Kizaru on the way, but he just glanced at me and ignored me. I don't know where he went, so be careful. Lin Chen and Long looked at each other, nodded solemnly, and then Lin Chen continued to ask. How are the pirates in East Blue doing now? In this high-pressure environment, I'm afraid they won't be able to bear it and will wreak havoc on villages and towns. Shanks looked solemn when he heard Lin Chen's words. I saw a lot of pirates gathering together on the way, as if they wanted to stick together. On the way, there were also a lot of pirates who took this opportunity to raid the village, trying to rob a fortune and escape from East Blue, but they were all ignored by me. Got it done. It seems that the situation in East Blue is very unstable now. What is the strategy you are talking about to break the situation? Is that guy Golden Lion really so easy to be manipulated by you? After all, he was also one of the 3 legendary pirates in the past. Shanks looked at Lin Chen with some worry, not that he didn't trust Lin Chen, but with the approach of Marine and world government, this destructive power was really frightening, even for him. Lin Chen said, Don't worry, I have a way to control him. We will go find him when you come back. The location has been locked. Then Lin Chen told Shanks some things, and then left Windmill Village with Long. Accompanying them are Rayleigh, Enel, and Crocodile. It can be said that in order to ensure nothing goes wrong, all the high-end combat power of Daybreak has been deployed, leaving only Monet to guard the Windmill Village. The sand of Crocodile dragged several people quickly to an altitude of 10,000 meters. Under Enel's sense of sight, they flew straight in the direction of the Golden Lion. Not long after, a few people saw islands floating in the sky, which looked spectacular from a distance. Crocodile also had to sigh. He is indeed one of the 3 great pirates in the past. This kind of method is really unheard of. Rayleigh glanced at Crocodile, her eyes also filled with memories of those years. This guy Golden Lion is indeed a very courageous person. I still remember the Battle of Etwall very well. If it weren't for God being on our side at the most critical moment, we really wouldn't be able to survive. We must be able to defeat the Golden Lion's pirate group. I heard Rayleigh's various descriptions of the naval battle, and what Lin Chen said about the Golden Lion's attack on Marineford alone. He fought with Garp and Sengoku for 3 days and 3 nights, destroying half of Marineford before being captured, and then escaped by cutting off his legs. Get out of the 6th floor of the underwater prison and become the first pirate to successfully escape. All these deeds undoubtedly demonstrate the legendary character of Golden Lion, and at the same time, they also make several people feel uneasy about this operation. Can Lin Chen really succeed? Chapter 58 Lao Lu. When they came to the islands in the sky, they were all quite strong, so they could naturally discover the differences on these islands. Just the countless powerful rare beasts on these islands make people have to be cautious, and people secretly wonder whether this is the plan of the Golden Lion. Lin Chen and the others did not hide their whereabouts. He habitually put on a white Magatama mask and followed the others to the huge island in the middle. Observation Hockey tells them that the Golden Lion is there. The moment Lin Chen and others entered the island, Golden Lion was aware of it. At this time, the Golden Lion still looked ambitious. 2 knives were tied to his legs as feet to support himself. The fluffy and long golden hair gave the Golden Lion a bit more domineering majesty, but the ship above his head, the rudder, actually makes him funny, looking like a big rooster. Glancing at the deputy who was studying at the side, Golden Lion frowned and said, "Indigo, we have a visitor. Gather all the captains under us. How could anyone find our traces? Is it Marine or world government?" Golden Lion also couldn't figure out how he could be discovered by hiding so secretly. He could only guess whether it was related to Marine and world government, which had made big moves recently. To be honest, he also saw the photo of Charmico Saint being attacked, but he just glanced at it and didn't care. He didn't bother to pay attention to the celestial dragons. His most important plan now is to study the rare beasts on the island. As long as the research is successful, he can carry out the plan to destroy East Blue and show his power to the world again. It's probably Marine and world government. After all, I'm also in East Blue. Maybe I'm also on the suspect list of the person who attacked celestial dragons. Are you kidding? Why would I do such a waste of time? I might as well attack Marineford. It's so refreshing to be here with Mariejois, ha 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 ha. Golden Lion didn't take this matter to heart and just wanted to get rid of these people quickly. After a while, he also saw several people who came, but the faces of these people were a little strange to him. Only an old man with white hair looked familiar. The leading man wearing a mask made him feel slightly unhappy. Why did this guy look so pretentious? Rayleigh glanced at Lin Chen. They had already made a plan on the way here, but Rayleigh felt that this plan was very sinister. "Hey, Golden Lion, do you remember me?" Golden Lion was sitting on the main seat, squinting at the white-haired old man who was speaking. He suddenly seemed to have remembered something and was a little surprised. "Rayleigh, how did you find me? I thought they were from Marine and world government, but you probably won't join them, so you are a different group." Thinking of what happened recently, Golden Lion suddenly opened his eyes wide and stood up excitedly. "Are you the same guys who attacked celestial dragons?" Lin Chen and the others looked at each other. Is this guy's sense of smell so sensitive? Rayleigh ignored Golden Lion and continued. "How could we do that kind of thing? Haven't you always had the desire to recruit powerful men? These are the good men I have recruited. I hope to join your flying pirate group." Golden Lion sneered, his eyes full of ridicule. "Hey, Rayleigh, don't think of me as a fool. Do you think I would be so stupid? The combined strength of the 5 of you far exceeds that of my sky pirates. Why do you still need to join me?" To be honest, Golden Lion was a little tempted at first, but he is really not a fool. Have the 3 legendary pirates in the past turned into such a coward? The dragon's ridicule made Golden Lion unable to sit still, and walked up to the 5 people and said angrily. "You guys don't even dare to show your face, how dare you tell me? Look at you guys, 2 of you are hiding your identities and don't dare to show your identity, and 1 is still playing with sand. The sand on his shoulders looks good." Looking at Enel again, Golden Lion lazily commented on this guy, looking like he was mentally retarded. Staring at Rayleigh, Golden Lion started to recruit. "Although these people are not to my liking, I can still accept it if it's you. Although you have become an old man now, I believe you still have some strength. How about it, Rayleigh? Want to don't make trouble in the world with me?" Golden Lion looked at Rayleigh at this time, his eyes full of ambition. After thinking about it, Rayleigh stretched out his hand and said to the Golden Lion. "Then please take care of me from now on." Golden Lion's smile stopped abruptly, recruiting Rayleigh so easily. But what followed was a series of surprises, and he stretched out his big hand to hold Rayleigh's hand. The 2 of them shook their hands, and at this moment Lin Chen suddenly raised his head and looked at Golden Lion. Golden Lion, who was so happy, looked at Lin Chen unconsciously, and his eyes met Lin Chen's. At the same time, he also heard Lin Chen suddenly shouted. "Do it!" Immediately, several violent auras erupted from Lin Chen, Rayleigh and Long. At the same time, Crocodile and Enel took action with lightning speed, killing everyone else in the room. Frozen hands. What frozen hands? The last question that came to his mind was this question. The last picture still lingered on Lin Chen's eyes. What made Golden Lion confused was why this man's eyes were spinning in circles. All of this happened in the blink of an eye. If you count carefully, it might not even last a second. At this time, Golden Lion stood alone in the hall blankly, with no sparkle in his eyes, and he could faintly see a Mangekyo look in his eyes. After Lin Chen confirmed again and again that Golden Lion was under his control, he felt relieved, and then he couldn't help but laugh. Listening to Lin Chen's laughter, the other people seemed to be infected and laughed. Long patted Lin Chen on the shoulder and laughed so hard that he couldn't bend down. "Why are you so mean?" While the Golden Lion was still happy that Rayleigh had joined, the 3 of us directly launched Conqueror's Haki to shock him. "How did you come up with this idea?" Rayleigh was also smiling from ear to ear. 3 top Conqueror's Haki locked onto one person at such a close distance to intimidate me. I really can't think of anyone in this world who can withstand it. You kid is so shady, ha 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 ha. Lin Chen chuckled. "I just want to be more sure." My illusion has the highest success rate only when a person is most vulnerable. For a strong man like Golden Lion, I guess this is the only way to make him lose his mind in an instant. It's a good idea to sneak in. If he wasn't a strong man of this level, there would be no need to go to such trouble. Long shook his head and said, if I had known this, you should have sent Shanks over. His conqueror's haki is the best. His aura is too obvious. Revealing it will make Golden Lion wary. Only old fritters like us would hide it and then use it against Golden Lion. Rayleigh looked at Golden Lion up and down, then looked at Lin Chen and asked. Are you sure it's okay? Lin Chen nodded. Don't worry, even if he can break free, it will be a month later. He will probably wake up and have returned to Impel Down by then. The 5 people looked at each other and laughed tremblingly. This sinister feeling actually made a few people feel a little happy. Chapter 59, Planning the Overall Situation. Advertise here. Lin Chen carefully looked at the Golden Lion who was controlled by him in front of him. After making sure that some details were correct, several people looked at him in surprise and looked exactly like the Golden Lion. This was the first time that several people saw Lin Chen use such a move, and they were all a little surprised. Rayleigh touched Lin Chen's long golden hair after turning into a Golden Lion, smacked his lips and said. This move is really convenient. I wonder if I can imitate Golden Lion's move. Long Zi was more concerned about how long Lin Chen could last. If you can imitate others at will and remain the same, it will be much easier for us to infiltrate Marine or world government to obtain intelligence. Lin Chen shook his head and said. It can only imitate the appearance, but that's enough for now. Let's see what I do next. Several people did not doubt that he was there. Lin Chen used Mangekyo to control the Golden Lion to use the fruit's ability to leave the 10,000-meter high altitude and return to the windmill village along with the island in the sky. When Shanks saw many islands flying in the sky, his eyes were extremely solemn, and everyone in Red Hair Pirates was also prepared to face these islands. Monet in the village also immediately took several children to a safe place, always ready to take action. Yeah ha 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 ha. Let me, the Golden Lion, rule the world again. A figure flew in the air. Shanks looked carefully and it turned out to be the Golden Lion. This made his heart sink. Did Lin Chen fail? But with the dragon, Rayleigh, Crocodile, and Enel, how could they not be able to defeat the Golden Lion? Doubts flashed through his mind, but he knew that the top priority was to resist the attack of the Golden Lion. After all, this guy now looks like he's coming with bad intentions. What confused Shanks was that the Golden Lion did not launch an attack. Instead, it flew down from the sky uncharacteristically, followed by Rayleigh and others. Not thinking clearly about what happened, Shanks had to keep gesturing to Rayleigh with his eyes, trying to figure out what was going on. Golden Lion looked back at Rayleigh and the others and laughed. Let's just say this guy can't recognize me. Don't worry, even Shanks can't tell whether I'm a real Golden Lion or a fake Golden Lion, let alone those from Marine and world government. Hearing this, Shanks opened his mouth and pointed at the Golden Lion, speechless. After counting carefully, he realized that one person was missing. Lin Chen didn't know where he was. Thinking again about what the Golden Lion in front of him said, Shanks suddenly thought of something and asked in disbelief. Are you Lin Chen? Beckman and others were a little shocked when they heard Shanks' words. They looked up and down at Golden Lion in disbelief. But when Shanks and others saw that familiar look in Golden Lion's eyes, they were sure that it was Lin Chen. Boom. The Golden Lion turned into a burst of white smoke, and then Lin Chen appeared in front of several people. Shanks, isn't my move pretty good? Looking at the dazed Shanks in front of him, Lin Chen burst out laughing, and several people rolled their eyes at him. Why are you still playing? The situation is so anxious now. Let me tell you how it goes. Although they said this, in fact, everyone knew in their hearts that Lin Chen did this just to relieve everyone's pressure. Ever since Marine mobilized most of its troops to advance towards East Blue, everyone's hearts have been tense all the time. Several people are still nervous, not to mention the other pirates in East Blue, who are now in a state of breaking out at any time. Lin Chen signaled Shanks not to be anxious and turned back to Long. Go get everyone together. Long nodded, knowing that time was running out now. From the time they left to finding Golden Lion and then bringing Golden Lion back, it seemed like just a short while, but actually half a day had passed, and it was already dark now. After everyone arrived, Lin Chen didn't waste any time and went straight to the topic. This operation went well, I have controlled the Golden Lion. After scanning the crowd, he found that several people were waiting for his next words, and Lin Chen did not hesitate. As I said before, Golden Lion is the one responsible for this incident. My plan is divided into 2 steps in the early stage. Lin Chen's eyes flashed and he continued. The first step is to transform into a Golden Lion and use the name of Golden Lion to summon all the pirates in East Blue. The location is in the Kingdom of Goa. The name of the external message is to unite the pirates and beware of Marines sweeping East Blue. After a pause, Lin Chen explained. Now all the pirates in East Blue have become frightened birds, and they are starting to stick together, but they lack a real big pirate to unite them, and we are not pirates in the true sense, and it is not appropriate for us to come forward, so Golden Lion is undoubtedly the best candidate. As long as this news is released, I believe all pirates will swarm here. Long frowned, pointed at the kingdom of Goa on the map, tapped his fingers on the table, thought, and asked. Do you want to use these pirate forces to fight against Marine and world government? But this time the focus of the matter is on Charmakushung. If we can't get rid of our suspicion, we will always be hunted by Marine. Although we are not afraid, but it will still cause some trouble. Listening to Long's words, Lin Chen nodded. Because of this, the second step of the plan is to launch a war in the waters of the kingdom of Goa. What causes war? Rayleigh looked at Lin Chen solemnly and asked. Lin Chen took out the photo of Charmakushung and slapped it on the table. When the time comes, I will transform into a golden lion and directly reveal myself to be the celestial dragons I attacked. This is why the plan has to be divided into 2 steps. The pirates in East Blue all know that Marine is here for the celestial dragons this time, so we did not expose ourselves at the beginning. We only waited until all the pirates were gathered to keep warm together. They will not think too much when they are in a hurry. After all, if Marine catches them alone, they will die. When Marine's troops are approaching the kingdom of Goa, we directly expose ourselves. By then, these pirates will not be able to escape even if they want to. At this time, I will control the golden lion to take the holy belt of Charmako in front of everyone. Come out, this will be a certainty. Marine and the world government will immediately target these pirates, and we will have an opportunity to take advantage of them. Speaking of this, Lin Chen glanced at Crocodile and asked. I want to broadcast the war live to the whole world this time, can I do it? Live broadcast to the whole world. Everyone was a little puzzled when they heard Lin Chen's bold idea. They really didn't think there was anything good about broadcasting this kind of thing to the whole world. On the contrary, they had some objections in their hearts, in case something else went wrong and things went wrong. What to do if unexpected developments occur? Chapter 60 The Pirate Alliance. Lin Chen looked at the shocked people and asked a question. What do you think is our purpose in launching this war? What is our purpose in kidnapping the celestial dragons in the first place? Is it just to excuse the blame for Golden Lion this time? Instead of doing this, why did you release the photos of the celestial dragons being attacked in the first place? After hearing Lin Chen's series of questions, everyone was a little silent. Lin Chen put his hands behind his back and said in a stern tone. The purpose of gathering all the pirates is to use the power of Marine to eliminate most of the pirates in East Blue. In the future, only pirates from the 3 seas will dare to set foot on the Grand Line. This is the first step to end the era of great pirates. Step. The purpose of broadcasting this battle all over the world is for everyone to see that even if Marine and world government take action together, they cannot save the celestial dragons. I will execute Charmako in front of the whole world. This is in order to eradicate the mountain in people's hearts that they never dare to cross. As if thinking of something, Lin Chen sneered from the corner of his mouth. It's just Marine and world government, are we really afraid of them? Turning around again, Lin Chen's aura had changed drastically, and there was a faint red glow in his eyes. If you want to make a fuss, make a big fuss. Hearing Lin Chen's determination, Crocodile nodded. I understand. I will deal with this matter for up to 3 days. At that time, I will execute Saint Charmaine live broadcast around the world. Lin Chen nodded and said nothing more, then looked at Shanks and said. This matter has nothing to do with you in the first place. My suggestion is to leave East Blue now. Your path should be in the new world. Don't hang out with us. Sooner or later, you will be hated by Marine and the world government. Shanks smiled calmly, but said somewhat reproachfully. Lin Chen, you don't regard me as a friend. I have helped you do so many things for so many days, and you want me to leave now. Lin Chen was stunned for a moment, looking at Shanks with his eyes, everything was beyond words. In that case, there is one thing I need to ask of you. Shanks looked at Lin Chen and waited for the next step. Although transforming into a golden lion to call pirates together is highly successful, it still needs a flame to guide them. After hearing Lin Chen's words, Shanks knew clearly that his mission was to be the first to respond to Lin Chen's call and led a large number of pirates to gather in the Goa Kingdom. Then Lin Chen looked at Li Xiao and others and said, you should monitor the situation around you at all times and tell me immediately if there are any changes. Several people nodded. Seeing this, Lin Chen said no more. After everyone dispersed, they all started their own tasks. Shanks left Windmill Village overnight with the Red Hair Pirates. In order to ensure efficiency, Lin Chen also temporarily asked Enel to go out and spread the news. Early the next morning, Lin Chen turned into a golden lion and appeared in the sea around Goa. At the same time, under his control, the real golden lion also controlled the island to float above the sea. This scene also attracted the surrounding pirates to come and watch the situation. Nowadays, even the slightest change in East Blue is frightening. Only by grasping first-hand information can we better survive in the coming turmoil. Lousy is the golden lion. Now that Marine and world government have sent so many troops to East Blue, who knows what their real intentions are? Pirates of East Blue, unite. Lousy is the legendary pirate golden lion. Join my pirate alliance and let me lead you out of East Blue. Ha 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 ha. Looking at Golden Lion, the surrounding pirates changed from shock at first to surprise later. If it is true as Golden Lion said, then they weak pirates might be able to survive. Thinking of this, the surrounding pirates sailed their boats and rushed to where Lin Chen was. Lin Chen was not polite and put down the island floating in the sky, allowing these pirates to successfully hide on it. Seeing this scene, the other hesitant pirates looked overjoyed and believed the Golden Lion's words in their hearts. After all, they had heard some rumors about the Golden Lion. Since he was willing to take everyone out, they were naturally willing to join him. It happened that all the pirates in East Blue wanted to form an alliance, but they just lacked someone with enough prestige, and Golden Lion was the perfect candidate. At the same time, as Shanks and Enel spread the news, more pirates flocked to the waters of the Kingdom of Goa. Even though they knew that Marine's purpose was there, it still aroused the violence in the hearts of these pirates. Pirate Alliance versus Marine and World Government. If they were alone, they would definitely tremble like quails, but now there is Golden Lion, one of the 3 legendary pirates, who took the lead in forming the Pirate Alliance. This makes this scattered group of pirates suddenly found the backbone. And under Lin Chen's deliberate spreading, the Golden Lion's record was once again gloriously presented, with some bragging elements in it. The Golden Lion attacked Marineford alone more than 10 years ago. Garp and Sengoku fought together for 10 days and 10 nights before defeating the Golden Lion, but both of them also suffered a lot of injuries. Golden Lion once almost destroyed the Pirate King Roger's pirate group in the New World. Rayleigh lamented afterward that if it hadn't been for that storm, we would have died without any trace left. Golden Lion's Sky Pirates can now be called the world's best pirate group. Kaido, Big Mom, and Whitebeard are nothing to Golden Lion. In order to better create his invincible character, Lin Chen even said this in front of countless pirates after turning into a Golden Lion. Did you see the 2 knives on my legs? No one in this world is qualified to let me pull out a second knife to fight. Follow me and bring this world to its knees. This arrogant look made many pirates feel less worried and instead felt confident. Seeing that he had achieved his goal, Lin Chen estimated that Shanks and Enel were almost ready, and then pushed the Golden Lion under his control out to take charge of the Pirate Alliance. He and Long immediately left this place and secretly moved quickly in one direction. At the same time, news of the Pirate Alliance spread all over the world and also came to Logue Town. Logue Town, Marine Temporary Headquarters. Counting carefully, the people attending this meeting were basically the main generals of this mission. On a light screen, Sengoku was remotely communicating with everyone in Marineford. Below, Kizaru and Aokiji are sitting on either side, one on the left and the other on the right. He stands alone in the middle looking at the map with a serious expression, and the other generals are also frowning. He stared at the map and frowned, and then spoke after a long time. Sengoku, this Golden Lion has been initially determined to be the real Golden Lion. The Pirate Alliance has also been formed. I'm afraid the difficulty of this mission will increase a lot. Sengoku glanced at everyone and said calmly. Don't forget what our mission is. We are here to investigate the murderer who kidnapped Charmok Saint. Don't waste too much time on these side details. The world government has been putting pressure on us. Everyone in the conference room was a little silent, even he was speechless. They subconsciously shifted their focus to the pirates, and forgot what the mission of this trip was. Sengoku looked at everyone with deep eyes and said nothing more. Then he made some plans to search for Charmakushung. When the screen went dark and Sengoku disappeared from the screen, everyone subconsciously breathed a sigh of relief. Boom. I have my own things to do. Just go ahead and I'll come over when I have time. Gion, let's go. Garp punched the chair hard, then no longer cared about everyone, and left with Gion directly. Garp. The voice of a crane came from behind, but Garp ignored it and walked firmly. He had already stayed in Logue Town for a day, and he must rush back to Windmill Village today. Chapter 61. Everyone is in action. Needles could be heard in the Marine conference room. Garp's departure made everyone feel a little awkward. The Marine hero does things so casually. There was a murmur from the corner. Aokiji glanced at the man, and the man immediately closed his mouth. He sighed in his heart, but quickly adjusted himself. Hurry up. According to the plan, we are divided into 3 brigades, led by Aokiji Kizaru Garp. Since Garp has left temporarily, I will be in charge of his team. After he distributed the personnel list, Marine also started its actions in an orderly manner. 15 warships set off from Logue Town in a mighty manner and headed towards the Kingdom of Goa. According to Marine's speed, it is estimated that it can be completed in 2 days. Arrive. Lin Chen and Long also reacted quickly. On the one hand, Lin Chen controlled Golden Lion and continued to expand the number of pirates in the Pirate Alliance. Currently, there are thousands of pirate groups gathered together, and the number is still small, is increasing. On the other hand, Long began to focus on the world government, which had never shown up, and wanted to find out the combat power they sent this time. Unfortunately, it is still confused until now. It can only be said that the world government has hidden it too deeply this time. Early the next morning, before the sun even appeared on the sea level, 2 warships came to the waters of the Kingdom of Goa like uninvited guests, breaking the brief tranquility. Garp stood on the bow of the boat with his hands in his arms, looking at the floating sky island in the distance with a solemn expression. Looking carefully, there were still scattered pirates swarming there. Is this the pirate alliance? Guion appeared next to Garp and looked at the densely packed pirates in the distance with some shock. The number of these pirates was beyond what she had ever seen before. Garp shook his head and said, "Let's go around here. The top priority now is to get back to Windmill Village." Guion nodded, but then frowned as he looked into the distance. They're heading towards us. Several pirate ships were approaching the two men's warship in the distance, which made Guion feel a little panicked, but he still calmed down and looked at Garp and asked, "Do you need to take action? Just wait and see what happens." Soon these pirate ships approached Garp's warship, and the pirates above looked at Garp and the two with crazy expressions. "Marine, how dare you come to the territory of the Pirate Alliance? Are you seeking death?" The sky became a little dark. Garp took a closer look at the surroundings and found no one else. Then he whispered to Guion, "Act quickly." Seeing this, Guion took out the saber from his waist, and Garp also took out the artillery in the warship, and instantly eliminated these pirates in 2 or 3 strokes. Garp didn't see anyone coming until all the pirates were killed. The pirates in the distance seemed to be blind. Putting aside his doubts, Garp said, "They are probably some blind pirates. Get out of here quickly and deal with them later." Guion nodded, and the 2 warships started sailing again. They were only an hour away from Windmill Village. After Garp and Guion left the sea area, the darkness in the sky slowly dissipated, and a figure quickly left here. The pirates in the Pirate Alliance looked into the distance and rubbed their eyes, a little confused. Where are those pirate ships that just ran past? The rest were equally puzzled. "I don't know. It was too dark at that time and I didn't see it. Was there any ship passing by?" The surrounding pirates looked at each other with doubts in their hearts. The dragon flew from the sky to where Lin Chen was and found him soon. "Lin Chen, I found old man Garp and Guion." After hearing Long's words, Lin Chen raised his head and looked at Long, with light shining in his eyes. A few pirates who didn't have the foresight ran over to look for trouble with them, but they got rid of them. It wasn't discovered. Long smiled and said, "I'm watching from the side. The sky around me has become a little dark. You can't spot them unless you are close. It seems that they are preparing to return to Windmill Village. Do you want to go back now?" Lin Chen hesitated in his heart, and after thinking about it, he decided to go and meet the two of them. "Go together. What about here? If you weren't here, would the Golden Lion break free from your control?" Lin Chen felt that what Long said made sense, so he left a clone behind, and then he and Long quickly headed in the direction where the two left. When Lin Chen and Long caught up with Garp and Guion's warship, they found no trace of them. Long frowned and said, "Did something happen?" Lin Chen didn't say anything and flew to a warship alone, where he saw a familiar figure. The people on the 2 warships also saw a masked man flying straight towards them, followed by a man in a green robe, and they all felt wary. "What do you do? Get out of here immediately. Otherwise, don't blame us for being rude." Boju held the long knife at her waist, looked at Lin Chen and the two with a fearless expression, and scolded them. Boom! A wave of Conqueror's Haki erupted from Lin Chen, and everyone on the 2 warships except Boju was shocked and fainted. Court death. Boju pulled out the long knife and quickly struck at Lin Chen. The long knife struck Lin Chen unceremoniously. What shocked Boju was that Lin Chen clamped her weapon with just 2 fingers, and she couldn't even break free. Where did Garp and Guion go? The Mangekyo of Lin Chen's eyes slowly turned, and the careless Boju was instantly controlled, looking at Lin Chen blankly and said, "Mr. Garp and Guion-san thought the warship was too slow, so they used moonwalk to leave first." Lin Chen sighed in his heart. If this continues, Garp and the others will probably arrive at Windmill Village before them. He just hopes that Rayleigh and the others on the island will not fight with them. After releasing his control over Boju, Lin Chen left the warship in the air and moved quickly towards Windmill Village. Glancing at the dragon behind him, Lin Chen was really worried that Garp would fight with Rayleigh and the others on the island, so he said, "I'll rush over first. Go. I'll be there soon." Knowing that Lin Chen was very fast, Long also knew that the two of them acting together would slow down Lin Chen's pace. Lin Chen's body exploded with lightning, and his speed became a little faster. Soon, Lin Chen sensed the warlock of Flying Thunder God. Looking at the distant sky, Lin Chen's heart was pounding. After 4 years, will the two of them finally meet again? Chapter 62 Lin Chen, Garp, Guion. Advertise here. There's someone coming from behind. Garp felt Lin Chen's figure behind him. Although he was several kilometers away, he was still spotted by Garp's observation Haki. After looking at the nearby Windmill Village, Garp made his choice instantly. "Let's go to Windmill Village first." Guion nodded and quickly appeared above Dayton's house on the moonwalk. The scene before them also made Garp and Guion worried. They found several strangers standing guard around Dayton's house, one of whom they knew very well. Daybreak member, Crocodile. Crocodile and the others obviously also discovered Garp and Guion, but their eyes were a little surprised, and at the same time they were also a little wary. Although everyone knows that Garp, Guillaume and Lin Chen have a very good relationship, the key is that Garp and Guillaume don't know, what if a few people attack them as enemies? Brother Shaw, I'm back with them, come and have breakfast. Monet took the children out of the forest behind the mountain. At this time, she had not noticed Garp and Guillaume in the air. Monet, be careful. Garp and Guillaume also spotted Perona and the others in the air, and they felt a little nervous. Whoosh. Lin Chen, dressed in black robes and wearing a mask, appeared behind Guillaume in an instant. He felt a strange breath coming from behind. Guillaume was a little shocked, but his body reacted instantly. An elbow hit Lin Chen behind him, but Lin Chen easily blocked it. Seeing this, Guillaume covered armament hockey with both fists and attacked Lin Chen unceremoniously, while Garp on the side did the same. Catching Guillaume's fist with one hand, Lin Chen looked at Garp's iron fist and thought for a while before moving sideways to avoid it, and a sound was made from under the mask in time. It's me. Garp and Guillaume were somewhat familiar with the voice, but couldn't remember who it was. However, they immediately distanced themselves from Lin Chen and looked at him warily. The leader of Daybreak, Madara, unexpectedly appeared in this place. What happened? The two of them were filled with questions. Another figure in the sky quickly fell down. Garp and Guillaume were no strangers, but at this time, the two of them were filled with doubts. You brat, what's going on? Garp looked at Long and Lin Chen standing side by side and scolded them. Long turned his head and glanced at Lin Chen, curled his lips and said. Let him tell you in person. Lin Chen said with his heart pounding. Let's go down first and then talk. Immediately, they took the lead towards Dayton's home. Garp and Guillaume looked at each other and looked at Long, who nodded heavily. Don't worry, his identity will shock you. Believing what Long said, the two of them also lowered their guard and followed Lin Chen into Dayton's home. Crocodile came in with 2 cups of tea, then stood aside and watched the show. Dayton also walked out and looked overjoyed when he saw Garp and Guillaume. Garp, Guillaume, you are here. Then, as if he thought of something, Dayton looked at Lin Chen, who was sitting in the middle wearing a mask, and immediately closed his mouth and stopped talking. He also stood next to Crocodile and watched the show together. After a while, the room was filled with people, all with the idea of watching a show, which made Garp, Guillaume and Lin Chen feel a little uncomfortable. Crocodile stood aside and cracked the melon seeds. Behind him, Rayleigh, Enel, and Dayton quickly finished dividing his melon seeds. Perona sat on a chair, holding breakfast and sipping it, ignoring Garp and Guillaume's twitching eyebrows as they watched her. Even Ace and Luffy shut their mouths knowingly and looked at the 3 people on the field with a faint expectation in their hearts. Feeling that the time was almost up, Lin Chen coughed and attracted the attention of Garp and Guillaume. Lin Chen looked at the two of them up and down, and his eyes stopped blankly on the cracked necklace around Guillaume's neck. Where are you looking? If you look again, your eyes will gouge out. Guillaume's scolding made Lin Chen come back to his senses, and his expression became a little worried. Long reminded him from the side. Stop being coy, there's still a lot to do. After hearing Long's words, Lin Chen made up his mind and slowly took off his mask. When Lin Chen's face was exposed in front of Garp and Guillaume, the two were stunned for a moment. And the people around them looked at the 3 of them with enthusiasm, and this moment finally arrived. Stuck. Old man Garp. Guillaume's sister. Lin Chen's words made the two of them sober up, but they still kept rubbing their eyes with their hands before looking at Lin Chen. Guillaume looked at Lin Chen's face and murmured blankly. Is this a dream? After hearing Guillaume's words, Lin Chen's nose felt sore and his eyes became red. You really are. R. Garp's lips trembled and he couldn't speak. He wanted to shout the name in his mouth but it seemed difficult to do so. Everyone around them fell silent and watched this scene quietly. Perona wiped away her tears. She couldn't believe it at first, but it was all true. Brother Lin Chen was back. I am Lin Chen. I am really Lin Chen. Lin Chen helped Garp say the name he couldn't say, which also made Garp's heart tremble. Guillaume moved to Lin Chen step by step, looked at Lin Chen with hazy eyes, stretched out his hands and touched Lin Chen's cheek very carefully, for fear that everything was fake. Seeing Guillaume's cautious look, Lin Chen held Guillaume's hands in his big hands and put them on his face, and hot tears also flowed on Guillaume's hands. When Guillaume's hands felt the real touch, tears instantly burst out of his eyes. Looking at the crying pear blossoms and the rainy Guillaume in front of him, Lin Chen gently held Guillaume in his arms. Guillaume didn't resist. This embrace could only be seen in dreams countless times, but now it all came true. Especially when her ears clearly heard the sonorous and powerful heartbeat coming from Lin Chen's chest, she finally confirmed that this was Lin Chen. This Lin Chen who only appeared in his dreams day and night was now real, came to her side. Garp looked down at the floor, which was already covered with Garp's tears. Long stood beside Garp, patting Garp's shoulders gently with both hands. It's Lin Chen, he's back. The atmosphere in the room was somewhat silent, and everyone watched this scene quietly. After a long time, Guillaume suddenly broke away from Lin Chen's arms, quickly wiped away his tears, and became silent. Guillaume's sister. Lin Chen felt a little confused and looked at Guillaume at a loss. Perona quietly walked up behind Lin Chen and tapped Lin Chen's waist with her hand, and whispered. Go and comfort Sister Guillaume. Lin Chen suddenly realized that after not seeing him for many years, he seemed to feel that he didn't know much about Guion anymore. The scene that happened now made him unable to wake up for the first time. Guion also didn't fully accept it. When a person he thought was dead appeared in front of him 4 years later, even though he was very happy, he couldn't accept it for a while. Chapter 63. The second plan begins. Advertise here. The atmosphere in the room was a little cold, which was different from what Lin Chen had imagined. Lin Chen walked to Guion and stretched out his hands but didn't know how to comfort him. 4 years later, the two of them met again, but it was not as beautiful as they imagined. Why didn't you tell us? Guion asked blankly, lowering his head and looking at the floor. Lin Chen was speechless for a moment and didn't know what to say. Garp rubbed his head. Having experienced many things, his ability to accept things immediately was still better than Guion's. No matter what, it's good that you are still alive. These years. Garp looked at Guion, and that sigh was his sigh for Guion. Guion had really sacrificed too much in the past 4 years, and Lin Chen didn't know all of this. I train myself hard every day in order to turn my longing for Lin Chen into motivation and keep moving towards Admiral's goal. Only with strength can we live freely, prevent tragedies like Marineford from happening, and protect Perona and Ace better. But when Lin Chen appeared, Guion was stunned for a moment, and the endless grievances in her heart burst out. However, these years of training made her no longer show her emotions. She was used to being strong in front of everyone, but in front of Lin Chen, all her hard work and strength in the past 4 years turned into grievances. All she did was for Lin Chen, all for what Lin Chen did before he died. A legacy left behind. Everything she did was to carry Lin Chen's weight forward. Because of this, when she saw Lin Chen, she went from being dull at the beginning, to surprise, and finally to what she is now. There were some unspeakable meanings, and Guion's heart was filled with mixed emotions. Standing next to Guion, Lin Chen hesitated for a long time before gently placing his hand on her shoulder and patting her twice. He might also understand something in his heart. I have worked hard for so many years. I'm sorry that I came back late. The moment he heard these words, Guion could no longer hide his grievances. He leaned in Lin Chen's arms and sobbed. From time to time, he hit Lin Chen with his hands to vent his grievances and dissatisfaction. After so many years, if you want to say what kind of feelings Guion has for Lin Chen, maybe even she herself can't tell. Missing her the most, but was there no resentment? She counted them on her fingers during the countless days and nights when she couldn't sleep. But when she heard Lin Chen's words of understanding, all other emotions in her heart flew away. At this time, she just wanted to cry loudly. Lin Chen gently hugged Guion, and his chest was already wet with Guion's tears, but in his heart he only felt sorry for the girl in his arms. It was because he failed to help Guion share this heavy pressure that he had to do it himself. It was so late that she suffered so much alone. No one in the room disturbed this moment. Over the years, they had seen Lin Chen alone with the mission of overthrowing the world government and ending the era of great pirates. Although everyone didn't believe it at first, Lin Chen was indeed walking towards his dream step by step. Every step was extremely heavy, and they also knew the pressure Lin Chen was under. Both Lin Chen and Guion were burdened with their own pressure, which also suppressed their feelings a lot. But at the moment when the two met, all missions and tasks seemed not so important. Lin Chen, hurry up and start the second plan. All the pirates have been introduced to the Pirate Alliance by me. Marine's army is less than an hour away from the Pirate Alliance. What are you doing? The sound from outside the door broke the brief silence in the room. Boom. Shanks broke through the door. When he arrived at the Pirate Alliance, he didn't find Long or Lin Chen. Only Lin Chen's clone was there, but it didn't have much effect. This is different from what was planned at the beginning. After all, it was agreed in advance that Lin Chen would announce that the Celestial Dragons were killed by him after Shanks introduced the remaining pirates to the Pirate Alliance. Then Marine would inevitably fight with Hai. The Alliance of Thieves has started a war, and everyone can fish in troubled waters. But when Shanks saw this scene in the room, he opened his mouth and was speechless. He closed the door again and opened it again. After repeatedly confirming that there was nothing wrong with his eyes, he only had one thought in his mind, whether he had been tricked by this piece of shit Lin Chen. Why did Garp and Guion appear halfway? Shanks is not unfamiliar with these two people. These two people have been the focus of the topic when discussing Lin Chen's past affairs these days. Of course, the most talked about is Lin Chen and Guion's fate. Lin Chen didn't say a word about whether he had children or not, leaving only a look in his eyes for everyone to guess. Feeling that someone came to look for Lin Chen, it seemed to be a very important matter. Guion also pushed away Lin Chen's arms and stood aside and wiped the tears on his face. Lin Chen calmed down his emotions. He knew that now was not the time for love between children and there were more important things waiting for him. Lin Chen, did you plan all this? Garp also heard Shanks' words, and he was surprised by the information contained in this sentence. At the same time, he also looked at Lin Chen with disappointed eyes. He could accept Lin Chen and Long joining the Revolutionary Army, but in his heart he was unwilling to see Lin Chen involved with pirates. Guion also looked at Lin Chen, waiting for his answer. Lin Chen rubbed his head, knowing in his heart that time was already very tight. If he explained everything to them here, he might delay his plan. Lin Chen said after taking a look at the people around him. Monet, you stay and explain to them that this battle is too dangerous and you are not suitable to participate in it now. Monet curled his lips, but did not refute anything. There were 7 or 8 admirals on the bright side of this battle, not to mention those who were hidden. Now with her strength, it would have been easier to drag everyone down than in the past, so she didn't say much about Lin Chen's arrangements, but she felt guilty for not being able to help Lin Chen. But then she thought about it, she was able to stay with Lin Chen's 2 closest people, which also meant Lin Chen's trust in her. At the same time, she could also learn more about Lin Chen's past through Gion and Garp. The distance between Lin Chen and Lin Chen was getting closer. Thinking of this, Monet became happy again. After glancing at Gion and Garp, Lin Chen also knew that the 2 of them might have misunderstood him, but at this time it was too late, so he apologized. This war is indeed related to me, but I am definitely not uniting pirates to fight Marine and world government. I have my own path. After this war, you will know the truth. Lin Chen glanced at everyone and said, Lao Sha, Enel, Mr. Rayleigh, Big Brother, Shanks, come with me. Remember to bring Charmaine. As Lin Chen walked out first, Gion stretched out his hand to grab the corner of Lin Chen's clothes, but the 2 of them passed by each other and within a short time they were separated from each other. Chapter 64, The Promoted War. Advertise here. Lao Sha, how are you preparing for the live broadcast? The manpower has been arranged. Many people are in the Pirate Alliance. By then, all aspects of the live broadcast will be carried out. However, due to limited time, only 2 live broadcasts have been arranged, Sabayati Archipelago and Goa Kingdom. However, the underground world will do all get ready, this video will spread all over the world as time goes by. Lin Chen nodded, which made him feel relieved. He turned to look at Long on the side and asked again. Hasn't the power of the world government been investigated yet? Long shook his head helplessly. This time they hid too deeply. One thing that can be determined at present is that they did send high-end combat power, but they don't know what happened. Lin Chen had nothing to do about it. Looking at his dashboard, he didn't take this matter too seriously. Based on my own judgment of previous battles, the world government's power is estimated to be only that group of secret holy knights, but in the Battle of Marineford that year, I had already been defeated by myself. Therefore, Lin Chen did not pay too much attention to the power sent by the world government. After all, he could defeat all the methods with one force. With his own strength, even 3 admirals had to consider whether they could get out under his own hands. After looking at the Pirate Alliance that was not far away, Lin Chen briefly laid out a battle plan. Shanks, when the time comes, you red hair pirates will just be paddling in the Pirate League. You will only be responsible for stimulating the emotions of these pirates and making them feel more confident. Just stop running around during the fight. Lao Sha, Enel, and Mr. Rayleigh, we will be responsible for hiding around the Golden Lion when the time comes to prevent the Marine Admiral from carrying out the beheading operation. We must ensure that the execution of St. Chalmer is carried out smoothly. Brother Long, it's up to you to keep an eye on the world government side. Once someone appears, tell me immediately. I can go over and join the battle at any time. Before I find them, I will keep controlling the Golden Lion to execute the beheading of St. Charmic. Several people nodded and understood their respective tasks. I just hope nothing goes wrong. Looking at the floating island in front of him, Lin Chen murmured in his heart. Mariejois, meeting of 5 elders. At this time, the 5 elders were looking heavily at the map and information in front of them, with ugly expressions on their faces. Garp is really unreliable. He left with Gion at such a critical moment. Does he want to rebel? Let him go. Call Sengoku and ask Akainu to come back immediately. Others also felt that the time had come to recall Akainu and agreed. Regarding the traces of Dawn, there is news from the Marine that they saw their whereabouts in Logue Town more than 10 days ago. I wonder if they can successfully snipe them this time. The Golden Lion also showed up. Is there any connection between the 2? Who is behind the disappearance of Charmakushung? Are the Revolutionary Army also behind it? Don't think so much now. The Pirate Alliance is about to meet with Marine. I just hope they won't become an obstacle. But don't worry, the new Holy Knights dispatched this time will definitely catch Dawn off guard, and they will definitely regain the right to speak in the underground world. Suddenly one of the 5 elders spoke. Do you want to report it to that gentleman? If that weapon is used, these pirate alliances will probably be disintegrated in an instant. The others were silent for a moment, and then one person sneered. What does Marine do for food? Do we still have to help Marine clean up the pirates? Besides, using that weapon will also affect the life of that adult. It's better not to report it. The combat power dispatched this time is sufficient. Can 8 admiral-level experts complete this small task? The few people said no more, ignored the proposal, and began to discuss other things. Look at Lin Chen who has arrived on the floating island. Lin Chen didn't notice anything happened after removing his clone. After looking at Golden Lion's condition, he saw that it was still some time before he was out of trouble. Walking out the door, I looked at the densely packed pirate ships on the sea. There were thousands of them as far as the eye could see. What is the concept of thousands of pirate ships? This means that there are thousands of pirate groups, and the number is estimated to be hundreds of thousands. But Lin Chen felt that this was not all the pirates in East Blue, maybe not even half. There were still some pirates watching the development of the situation, and there were also some pirates who didn't even know about this. If it ferments for another 10 days and a half, Lin Chen is sure that he can gather tens of thousands of pirates, but unfortunately there is no time. He transformed into a golden lion and floated to the surface of the sea. When countless pirates saw the golden lion coming out, they instantly burst into cheers. Is that the legendary pirate Golden Lion? He is worthy of being a legendary pirate as famous as Roger Whitebeard. He looks really hockey. It would be great if he could join his pirate group. Does it look very hockey? The long golden hair looks true, but what is that thing on the golden lion's head? Does it look like a rudder? What do you know? That is the sign of a strong man. Any strong man will have some eye-catching characteristics, right? Then I will become a big pirate like Golden Lion in the future. Then I will also put a rudder on my head. ... Looking at the fierce voices of countless pirates below, Lin Chen's expression became more and more solemn. He had already seen the shadow of the marine fleet appearing on the sea in the distance. 15 ships. No, different from the information he had found, a full 25 warships were heading here in unison. The leaders were none other than the two marine admirals, Aokiji and Kizaru. At the same time, there are also many famous vice admiral, Crane, Doberman, Ghost Spider, Flying Squirrel and so on. Kizaru, who was standing on the bow of the boat, was cutting his nails idly with nail scissors and said to the crane beside him. I've been running around East Blue these days gathering warships. When you get back, you have to tell Sengoku to give me more pay. He glanced at Kizaru and said calmly. You still have the same virtue. If you really want a bonus, it will depend on your performance in this battle. Although Sengoku said that we will not have too many conflicts with the Pirate Alliance, as a Marine if we remain indifferent to the pirates, it will probably cause a huge blow to Marine's prestige around the world. No matter what, this battle between Marine and the Pirate Alliance is unavoidable. It all feels like a coincidence. There is an invisible big hand pushing everyone forward, causing this battle. Who is it? Kizaru was a little surprised and curled his lips. Is there such a thing? It's really scary. Crane's eyes flashed. It was because she thought something was wrong about this matter that she asked Kizaru to mobilize 10 additional warships from East Blue just to deal with the unexpected incident. She vaguely felt that there was something behind this incident. Simple. Chapter 65 The live broadcast that set off the world. Advertise here. When Marine's 25 warships slowly sailed towards the Pirate Alliance, the pirates at the front could even clearly see Kizaru and Aokiji. Even though they were full of confidence at first, when they actually met these two people and the 25 warships behind them, their hearts were instantly filled with fear. Get back quickly. Hurry up. That's Marine Admiral. I don't want to die yet. The boat behind is moving. Let me pass. Lin Chen stood silently watching the scene below from a high place, and then slowly shook his head for a long time. After all, they are just a bunch of people. How could these stupid pirates have brought trouble to the entire world for so long? In the final analysis, the world government and Marine are not determined to catch all the pirates in one go. In Lin Chen's eyes, these pirates will be destroyed sooner or later, but he still hopes that these pirates can at least play some role and delay Marine's footsteps. As the first pirate retreated, countless pirates behind him became panicked and rushed to squeeze back. However, there is only a small amount of water on the sea surface. The only way to successfully avoid Marine is to board the Golden Lion's Island. Lin Chen knew that if he didn't say anything and set an example at this time, I'm afraid these pirates would kill him. Children, cheer up. There are only a few thousand Marines here, and there are hundreds of thousands of you together. Do you still need to be afraid of these Marines? Think about all the years you spent hiding in Tibet after being captured by Marine. Now is the time to take revenge. Follow me and rush. As Lin Chen waved his hand, Shanks, who was hiding among the pirates, immediately knew what he meant and continued to boost the morale of the pirates. Follow the Golden Lion boss in charge. Make a name for yourself today. Shanks continued to stir up the atmosphere among the countless pirate groups, and soon all the pirates became excited and rushed straight towards Marine's fleet. He stood on the bow of the warship and looked seriously at the Golden Lion transformed by Lin Chen in the distance, and said. He is still the same as before, but this time I want to see how much of your old skills you still have. While talking to Crane, he also issued combat orders. The warships are lined up one after another, and the chains are attached. Block them. All Marines are preparing for a decisive battle on land, and the artillery is preparing to attack the pirates' rear. Aokiji on the side glanced at the crane, took out a golden phone bug in his hand and said. It's better to launch the buster call first. This can provide enough deterrence. After all, this is the prerogative of the Admiral. After launching the buster call, it won't be too late for me to fight in the frozen sea. He agreed without thinking. After all, if the artillery was to fight at close range, there would be a risk of hitting one of his own people, so it was better to finish the attack now. Looking at the pirate ship getting closer and closer, he said to Kizaru again. Please stop them from approaching the warship first. Kizaru scratched his head, feeling helpless. It's really troublesome. Even so, Kizaru still quickly flew high into the sky. Looking at the densely packed pirates in the distance, Kizaru's eyes gradually became cold. 8-foot beautiful Magatama. Aokiji also immediately launched a buster call, but this was no ordinary buster call, this was a buster call launched by a total of 25 warships. Bang, bang, bang. Countless cannonballs swept across the sea, and Kizaru's light bullet attack from the sky also flew towards the pirates on the sea. The leading pirates immediately suffered a heavy blow. Countless ships were shattered by cannonballs and light bombs, and even the pirates on board were buried in the sea. Lin Chen squinted his eyes and looked at the war in the distance. Although these moves looked very powerful, only a few hundred pirate ships were destroyed, and here, there were thousands of pirate ships. While everyone was not paying attention, Lin Chen pushed the real golden lion controlled by him to the stage, and he also hid himself and gathered with everyone. Lao Sha, prepare to start the live broadcast. When Marine's shells are used up, they will have no long-range firepower. By then, the two sides will definitely engage in hand-to-hand combat. As expected, Aokiji will freeze the sea, and then it will be time to execute Charmakushung. Crocodile nodded, and Lin Chen said to Enel worriedly. Disperse observation Haki at all times, and let me know immediately if a strange strong person appears. After explaining this, Lin Chen returned to the Golden Lion, always observing the changes in the situation. After a while, Kizaru dispersed his moves and returned to the warship. After another moment, the sound of the artillery on the warship gradually disappeared. It was obvious that the shells had been used up. By the time the last sound of shelling disappeared, the entire sea was in ruins, and black smoke drifted into the sky, looking extremely miserable. He looked at the scene in front of her with a heavy heart. Only 30% of the pirate's strength was consumed. It was estimated that nearly 2,000 pirate ships were buried in the sea. This was somewhat lower than she expected, but she still announced it immediately. Made a battle plan. Carry out the second phase of the combat mission. The warships begin to block all pirates, and the Aokiji admiral freezes the sea surface to prepare for landing operations. After hearing this, Aokiji jumped off the warship, icicles appeared on his hands extending above the sea, and cold air came out of his mouth. Ice Age. If you want to ask how strong Aokiji is, you can intuitively see it from his move. Starting from where the marine warship was, the cold air swept across the sea in an instant, heading straight towards where Lin Chen and the others were. After passing a few people's positions, the cold air continued to attack behind them with unabated force, and did not slowly stop until not far from the land. You must know that the position where Lin Chen and others are located is already at the very back of the Pirate Alliance. Counting from the position of the marine warship, this move froze the sea surface for 10 kilometers, which was terrifying. As Aokiji freezes the sea, this means that a hand-to-hand battle is about to break out. Although Marine obviously does not have an advantage in terms of numbers, fortunately there are two admirals here, and the only famous strongman in the Pirate Alliance is Golden Lion, so the confrontation is not so disadvantageous. The Marines on the warship slowly stood on the ice. Smoker, Hina, Boju, etc. all looked at the enemy in front of them with extremely determined eyes, without any fear. Lin Chen stood up at this time, turned his head to look at Charmakushung behind him, and sneered from the corner of his mouth. Now it's your turn, respected Lord Celestial Dragons. After saying that, the Golden Lion immediately took control and picked up Charmakushung and flew into the air. Crocodile in the crowd saw it and immediately started the live broadcast. The situation on the entire battlefield immediately appeared on the big screens that had been prepared in places such as Sabayati Archipelago and Goa Kingdom, especially the Golden Lion carrying Saint Charmak with all his limbs, like a pig. At the same time, the video of Charmakushung eating like a pig was also played in the lower right corner of the live broadcast screen, which shocked everyone who was watching the live broadcast. Not to mention people all over the world, just the Sabayati Archipelago and Goa Kingdom, the news instantly spread throughout the streets and alleys, thus attracting more people to watch. This is a live broadcast that has never been seen before, related to the ugly behavior of Celestial Dragon's live broadcast. There were also people who were not afraid of death and discovered the major business opportunities. They immediately tried to transfer the video to all corners of the world. Unexpectedly, they succeeded easily. This also means that in the near future, this live broadcast will be broadcast live all over the world. Chapter 66, Golden Lion kidnaps Celestial Dragons online. Advertise here. Golden Lion's action immediately attracted everyone's attention, but when everyone saw the person in Golden Lion's hand, they were shocked and speechless for a moment. So, those are the kidnapped Celestial Dragons. Could it be that the Golden Lion boss kidnapped the Celestial Dragons? Thinking of it, the pirates here were already pale. They knew what Marine was doing here. They originally thought that joining the Pirate Alliance would avoid this disaster under the protection of the Golden Lion. But who can tell them why their boss is the one behind the kidnapping of the Celestial Dragons? Then these pirates who came all the way to hug each other for warmth are not like a sheep in a tiger's mouth. The smart pirates have found a corner to lie down and wait to die, but a large number of pirates are still starting to go crazy in their eyes. Golden Lion. You 4X. You deserve to die. You lied to us. Let me go back. I want to go home to find my mother. Woohoo. Marine across the way. Actually, I'm an undercover agent. I've known for a long time that this bitch Golden Lion kidnapped the celestial dragons, but I haven't had time to tell you yet. Please let me go. Master Marine. Is it too late for me to be a good person now? Compared to the chaos of the pirates, Marine is obviously much more cautious. After all, the pirates were among their suspected targets from the beginning, and they were just the smallest ones. The top executives looked at the Golden Lion in the sky and wondered what he had in mind. If it was blackmail, everything would be fine. Asking for some money from the world government would solve the problem. But with the character of Golden Lion, I am afraid that he did this just to provoke the world government. After thinking for a while, Crane spoke to the Golden Lion in the sky. Golden Lion, let the celestial dragons go now. We, Marine, can forget about your gathering of the Pirate Alliance in East Blue. Otherwise, you can't bear the consequences. As he spoke, he made a gesture to Marine behind him. The person who knew his thoughts immediately turned around and left to report to Sengoku. After all, this matter is related to the life and safety of Charma-Kushung. Marine cannot make decisions at will and must report them to the 5 elders one by one to wait for instructions. Therefore, all they can do now is delay, but if there is an emergency, they will have to do their best to save the life of Charma-Kushung. What made he a little confused was that the Golden Lion had not said a word since it flew high into the sky. It just stopped in the air with Charma-Kushung, as if waiting for something. Kizaru touched his chin and thought about the suggestion in his mind but did not say it out loud. He felt relieved and relaxed. What does celestial dragons have to do with him? He is not the father of celestial dragons, so why should he take the initiative to take care of it? Besides, if he really has such a son, he will definitely beat his parents even if they don't know him. Lin Chen is still waiting. He is not only waiting for this live broadcast to spread all over the world, but also fishing with Charma-Kushung. The real hidden figures in the world government have not been fished out yet. He is not so relieved. They have been fishing. Not showing up was as uncomfortable for Lin Chen as a fish bone stuck in his throat. The atmosphere on the court fell into a stalemate. Both Golden Lion and Marine stopped. Only the pirates in the middle became more and more noisy. I want to get out. Get me out of this damn pirate alliance. Brothers, rush out together. Before they are even thinking about us. Where's the red-haired boy who's been taking the lead just now? Take us out together. Shanks hid in the dark and sighed silently when he heard someone calling his own characteristics. Surrounded by the crowd of red-hair pirates, Shanks pressed his straw hat deeper and continued to move against the flow of people in the direction of Rayleigh and the others behind him. Brother Madara, someone has appeared, Enel exclaimed, and Lin Chen also had a smile on his lips. Did you finally catch it? It's Mr. Garp and Miss Guion. Hearing this, Lin Chen's face darkened, but he still focused his gaze on the two people in the distance. Garp and Guion used moonwalk to quickly arrive at the marine formation and stood in front of a group of high-level generals. Countless pirates were even more frightened when they saw Garp's arrival, and some crazy pirate's eyes became clearer, thinking about how to escape smoothly without attracting Garp's attention. He looked at Garp and said calmly, "You still know how to come back, Garp." Garp didn't say much, and looked at the Golden Lion in the sky from time to time with worry. He was not worried about the Golden Lion, nor was he worried about Charma-Kushung, but he was simply worried about the consequences of Lin Chen's doing this. Guion didn't look at the Golden Lion, his eyes looked straight into the distance, as if he could see Lin Chen at the back through the crowd. At the same time, the call from War Front was successfully received in Sengoku's office. What was unexpected was that Sengoku said as soon as he opened his mouth. Transfer the call to he immediately. I want to tell her in person. After a while, he was on the phone with Sengoku. After hearing what Sengoku said, he was extremely shocked. This. He was stunned but couldn't say a word. The two admirals beside him were a little confused and looked at he. Tsuruya, who forced himself to calm down, said immediately. This battle has been broadcast live to the whole world. Now everyone is watching here, watching what will happen to Charma-Kushung. As he spoke, Crane's eyes sparkled. This must be a man-made war. It's a conspiracy against the world government, marines, pirates, and celestial dragons. Who is it? Garp and Guion's expressions didn't change much, but they still pretended to be shocked in order to blend in with the crowd. Garp also said a few words at the right time. After all, I was an old rival with Golden Lion back then. It would be impossible for him to do such a thing based on his IQ alone. Guion on the side immediately looked at Garp. Garp also knew that he seemed to have said something and immediately stopped talking. However, he didn't think so much. She also thought that Golden Lion did not have such wisdom, and the whole situation became confusing. Chapter 67 The New Knights of God. Mariejois, the room was full of people at this time. 5 elders, Sengoku, Sora. Several people focused their attention on the middle screen, where the latest footage of the East Blue battlefield was being broadcast live. One of the 5 elders punched the table and said angrily, "These damn pirates. How dare they kidnap the celestial dragons? and live broadcast in front of everyone. Another 5 elders warned him not to be impulsive and said, let's get in touch with the front line first and ask about Golden Lion's requirements. It would be best if we could rescue Charma Kushung. After a pause, he looked at Sengoku and asked, can't the live broadcast be interrupted this time? Sengoku shook his head and said, we have tried our best to close it down, but there are still many people conducting live broadcasts on a large scale. I'm afraid we can't stop it. Hearing this, the 5 elders were also a little angry, these bastards. How dare you? What he doesn't know is that these are all desperados from the underground world who are bribed by Crocodile and want money rather than their lives. He doesn't care whether you are a world government or a marine. He will work for whoever gives you more money, and he has extremely high credibility. Okay, so there is no backtracking. One of the 5 elders looked at Sengoku and asked, Sengoku, do you have any ideas? Sengoku sighed and said, at present, we can only wait for the other party to offer conditions. After all, the hostages are in the hands of Golden Lion, and we dare not act rashly. The 5 elders fell silent. This live broadcast is undoubtedly related to the reputation of world government and marine. If it is not handled well, the impact will be considerable. If Charmok Saint died at the hands of the Golden Lion in front of the whole world, it would be a very heavy blow to the status of celestial dragons. After all, everyone is used to the aloof and inviolable appearance of celestial dragons. If they find that celestial dragons will be slaughtered like dead dogs, I am afraid that the fear of celestial dragons in people's hearts will dissipate a lot. After thinking about it, 5 elders picked up the phone with a golden logo on the side. It took a long time before a response came from the other side. This is the Knights of God. May I ask what your orders are from Lord 5 elders? The current priority has been changed to ensure the safety of Saint Chalmok. Kill all those who stand in the way. Yes. Do. Sengoku looked at the phone bug with a deep look, wondering what he was thinking. The 5 elders also sighed. Now they can only pray that Marine and the Knights of God will do something, hoping that this war will not move towards the worst outcome. At the same time, the pirates in the New World also saw this unprecedented live broadcast. Whitebeard, Kaido, and Big Mom were also shocked by the content of the live broadcast. When Whitebeard saw clearly the person who kidnapped the celestial dragons, he couldn't help but sigh, it has to be you, Golden Lion. At first, you were the craziest among the 3 of us. It seems that you are still like this now. Kidnapping the celestial dragons, you are really old and confused. The captains around them also nodded. They didn't know what the benefits would be if they thought about this kind of thing. They would be liquidated by Marine and the world government afterwards, and the gains outweighed the losses. The Golden Lion, who was far away at the East Blue live broadcast, also made new moves. Now his every move affects the hearts of people all over the world, who want to see what the outcome of Charma Kushung will be. Lin Chen looked to Enel aside and asked, don't you feel the strange atmosphere yet? Enel nodded with solemn eyes. Lin Chen couldn't help but be a little confused, but at the same time he was also cautious. If Enel's observation Haki cannot sense it, then there are only 2 possibilities. One is that the opponent's observation Haki is more advanced and can block Enel's perception. The other is that the opponent is observing the situation on the battlefield from a long distance, and has the confidence to come to the battlefield in an instant to save Saint Charma. Either way, this was not good news for Lin Chen, but then he thought, if he couldn't catch him this way, then it would be a good way to directly execute Charma Kushung. Thinking of this, Lin Chen immediately controlled the Golden Lion to lift Saint Charmok high, used the ability of Lion Fruit to float him in the air, and then slowly raised the 2 knives tied to his legs. It seemed that it is to cut off Charmako's holy waist directly. People all over the world were watching the movements of the Golden Lion intently. Some people were gritting their teeth and still muttering, cut it down. Cut it down. Cut it down quickly, and there were also many such people. People who had been oppressed by the celestial dragons on Hydra Island, the Fishmen Island and other countless islands and countries were looking at this scene with burning eyes, looking forward to the scene of the separation of the body of Saint Charmako. Coming. Enel's voice sounded from the side, and Lin Chen immediately sensed that 5 people appeared on the battlefield in an instant. Everything was so fast, it was like these people appeared out of thin air. The 5 people turned into streams of light and rushed towards the Golden Lion in the sky from 5 different directions. They carefully sensed the past and found that each one had a strength no less than admiral. Moreover, these 5 people are all wearing silver gold armor with the marks of celestial dragons and world government printed on the armor. They exude an aura of indifference, and their eyes are very sharp. Lin Chen was a little shocked when he looked at these 5 people. These people are completely different from the 5 auras a few years ago. They have actually created so many strong men in the past few years. How many methods does the world government have? The 5 elders who were far away in Mariejois relaxed after seeing these 5 people appearing, and a smile flashed on their faces. Thanks to Vegapunk's new technology and the remaining reserves of the Knights of God have been replenished in the past few years. Another 5 elders also nodded in admiration. That's true. It's a pity that he can't make more. But I heard that he seems to have another new technology. As long as he collects more information about powerful people, he can mass produce terrible war weapons. This kind of person must firmly we have control. Sengoku sat in the corner silently, the white light flashing on his round glasses making it difficult to see his expression. Back on the battlefield, except for a few people who could guess the identity of the Knights of God, everyone else was completely confused. The hearts of those who watched the live broadcast from all over the world were raised to their throats. At first glance, these people were the lackeys of the world government. They knew without guessing that they were here to rescue Charmak, which made them feel a little disappointed. It seems that no matter what time, celestial dragons are still in existence that cannot be provoked, even legendary pirates like Golden Lion are no exception. Chapter 68. 10 people confront each other. Although these 5 people are very fast, some are faster. 5 different figures suddenly appeared in front of the Knights of God from 5 places. This made the 5 members of the Knights of God immediately solemn, but their expressions remained aloof. When the faces of these 5 people were revealed, everyone was shocked and speechless. Rayleigh knew that it was a live broadcast all over the world, so her face was very serious. The strong Hokage could even be felt by people all over the world through the live broadcast screen. As Roger's well-known deputy, it has only been 12 years since Roger was executed, and many people still recognize Rayleigh. Whitebeard squinted his eyes and looked at Rayleigh on the screen, and murmured, "Rayleigh, why are you involved in this matter at such an old age, or is this all planned by someone else?" Quote. Kaido and Big Mom were also shocked that Rayleigh would appear on the East Blue battlefield and stand on the opposite side of the world government. The noses of the 5 elders far away in Mariejois were already crooked with anger. The appearance of the Knights of God originally meant that the rescue operation was about to be completed, but who were these 5 strong men who appeared at this moment? Especially when they saw Rayleigh and a few others clearly, the 5 of them felt as if a volcano was about to erupt. Revolutionary Army. Dawn. How dare you? But when they saw another person, they were all speechless. This guy was also involved in this matter, which made the 5 elders feel a little troubled. Sengoku was confident of winning at first, but now he was feeling worried after seeing the people on the field. This incident seemed to be developing in a bad direction, but he could only place his hope on Marine on the front line. With Aokiji Kizaru Garp, Akainu rushing over, and the Knights of God, he still felt that victory was on his side. The strong men on the battlefield also saw the few people who appeared to block this time. Pluton Rayleigh, the leader of the Revolutionary Army, Dragon. Daybreak member, Crocodile. Daybreak member, Enel, and the last one who surprised everyone. The leader of the Red Hair Pirates, Red-Haired Shanks. Hawkeye, who was sitting at home drinking red wine, suddenly stood up, his eyes full of disbelief. Why are you involved in this matter? When people all over the world saw these 5 people, the hope that was slowly disappearing in their hearts became brighter again. It seemed that there was still some explanation for the execution of Saint Charmaine. On the battlefield, the Knights of God were confronting the 5 people in front of them. Several forces on the field were quiet and quietly watched the development of the situation. The always noisy pirates also seemed to have discovered that something was wrong. Just one of the 10 strong men in the sky could be wiped out by just pulling out one of them. Therefore, at this juncture, they did not dare to make any more noise, and they could not even escape quickly. Much lower. Lin Chen quietly watched the changes in the situation in secret. He had almost used all his trump cards now, and he was not prepared to expose and use the remaining ones now. Just when everyone was afraid to move, Crane in Marine suddenly stood up. She has already spoken to the Sengoku 5 elders and understands their intentions. It would be best if we can negotiate terms to rescue him. If he cannot be rescued, he will have to use all his combat power to let the whole world see what will happen if he dares to kill the celestial dragons. He could only curse in his heart at this, because the opponent's apparent combat prowess alone was enough for them to drink from, not to mention the secret leader of Daybreak who never showed up. She also knew that this incident must be related to Dawn and the Revolutionary Army. They planned all this. But as a Marine, she must also shoulder her responsibilities. Golden Lion, everyone, if you have any conditions, just come out. We have only one purpose, to release Saint Charma. You can't afford the price of killing the celestial dragons. Stop now and we cannot hold you accountable for kidnapping Char, the holy crime of Irma. He was also a little unsure about the thoughts of Golden Lion, Dawn and the Revolutionary Army, so she could only find the best conditions. Of course, if the other party really let them go, the consequences would definitely not be as good as she said. What surprised her was that Golden Lion ignored her, and the other 5 people did the same. The scene was a bit solemn for a while, and the smell of gunpowder filled everyone's heart, especially the 10 people in the sky, who felt like they would take action if they disagreed. Ha 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 ha. A burst of laughter suddenly came from the Marine, and the live broadcast camera also showed the Marine at the right time. Garp licked his nose and laughed. There are so many pirates ahead. As a Marine hero, how can I ignore these pirates? I won't come back until I catch all these pirates. This is a Marine's duty. As he spoke, he flicked the boogers in his hand away and said to Guion on the side, there just happened to be a lot of pirates. I need a deputy. What do you think of Guion, Vice Admiral? Guion's eyes lit up when he heard Garp's words, so they wouldn't have to help the world government rescue Charmakese. After all, There were so many pirates present, and Marine needed to dedicate manpower to arrest them. I do. As they spoke, Garp and Guion ignored everyone's gazes and drove their warships towards the pirates. The pirates who had no intention of fighting were even more hurried when they saw the legendary marine hero Garp attacking towards them. Escape. But all this pales in comparison to Garp's iron fist and the long sword at Guion's waist. The five elders were angry but helpless as they watched this scene. After all, everything Garp did seemed very reasonable. What makes the five elders angry is that as an indispensable high-end combat force in Marine, you actually choose to do such a trivial thing. It is obviously a cannon to kill mosquitoes, which makes the probability of rescuing Charmakeshan even smaller. Other civilians watching the live broadcast didn't think Garp had done anything wrong. They wanted Garp to catch the pirates instead of helping the world government save the celestial dragons. And some sharp-eyed people have discovered that many pirates have quietly slipped away from behind and are about to land on land. By then, these pirates will become demons causing trouble to the party. But there was nothing Lin Chen could do about it. He could only focus on executing Charmakeshan. He was helpless about the pirates who had escaped, but the actions of Garp and Guion just poked his finger. In my heart, it can be regarded as helping him solve a big trouble. Chapter 69 Decisive Battle. Advertise here. Everyone present except the pirates watched Garp and Guion chasing the pirates with two warships. The two warships chased thousands of pirate ships. It sounds very ridiculous, but in fact the pirates were chased everywhere. Running around. Guion held two knives in his hands and slashed from the marine camp until he was close to Lin Chen without blinking an eye. However, he was a little overwhelmed at this time, and his wrist was so heavy that he couldn't even lift the knife. Even so, the surrounding pirates looked at Guion as if they were seeing a demon and stayed away from Guion's warship, for fear of being spotted. Garp on the side looked very violent. Since the cannonballs on the warship had been exhausted, Garp had no choice but to raise the pirate ship with one hand and throw it into the pirates. In this way, the two of them fought until they reached the back of the center of the pirate alliance before stopping. Standing on the island, Lin Chen glanced at the two of them, his mouth twitched and he was speechless. The gentle and kind Guion's sister she once was gone forever. After taking a short rest, the two glanced in Lin Chen's direction, and then continued to fight towards the rear. Their ultimate goal was land. Only by blocking the land could they cut off the escape route of these pirates. Lin Chen looked at the path of the two and guessed their thoughts, and then stopped caring. Now that everyone's eyes were attracted to Charmakeshan, Lin Chen would naturally not worry about the safety of the two of them. He was a little helpless when he saw that the other party had been refusing to speak. The five elders immediately took away the phone bug. After all, they were watching the live broadcast and knew every move of the opponent on the field. It was estimated that the negotiation would not succeed, so they decided to be tough. Crane, Akainu will arrive at the battlefield soon. Let Aokiji and Kizaru stop watching the show in a daze. Come with me to rescue Charmakeshan. The almost roaring voice of the five elders came from the phone bug, and the surrounding marines also heard the anger contained in the hearts of the five elders. He no longer hesitated, looked at the people around him and said, Aokiji and Kizaru fight freely. The goal is to rescue Charmakeshan. The other generals will lead marines to capture the pirates. Others also knew that Admiral was not qualified to participate in this kind of war. On the contrary, the large number of pirates in front of them was also a troublesome existence, so they did not object to his orders and took action one after another. The Knights of God also received instructions from the five elders. The status of the five people suddenly became different, and their eyes began to be filled with murderous intent. Rayleigh and others also knew that the war had begun, and they were all prepared. In the dark, Lin Chen narrowed his eyes and controlled the golden lion to slash at Charmakeshan without hesitation. Whoosh, boom. As the two long knives on Golden Lion's feet fell, the laser on Kizaru's hand also hit the dead wood and Sakura 10 accurately. Sensing the movement behind them, Rayleigh and the others did not hesitate and immediately attacked the Knights of God in front of them. A melee between 10 people broke out instantly, and an extremely powerful wave erupted in the entire sky. Under the influence of these intense battle aftermaths, Golden Lion's eyes slowly began to change. Kizaru and Aokiji didn't hesitate, and immediately flew into the air to attack Enel and Crocodile, who looked weaker among the five. Poor Salino. Kizaru heard someone calling him and didn't pay attention at first, but stopped immediately when a black bullet shot in front of him. After scratching his head, Kizaru looked at a silver-haired man sitting on the pole of the boat. This man was holding a cigar and had a cross scar on his face. He looked extremely ferocious. He was the vice captain of the Red Hair Pirates, Ben Beckman. People nowadays are really monsters. Kizaru touched his chin, glanced at the main battlefield in the sky, then smiled and focused his attention on Beckman. Have you ever been kicked at the speed of light? Watching Kizaru turn into golden particles and disappear, Beckman instantly put the gun in his hand behind his back, predictably blocking Kizaru's blow. It's really scary. Kizaru's chrysanthemum-like face showed a hint of fear, and then he flew high into the sky again. 8-foot beautiful Magatama. Several light bullets hit Shank's ship first. A flash of silver light flashed and the light bullets were scattered. Then Beckman transformed into a silver figure and immediately rushed towards Kizaru. Kizaru was a little surprised by this man's strength, and light bullets condensed on his hand again, but the next moment it transformed into the Amankongan sword. Looking carefully, Beckman had already arrived in front of Kizaru. A plume of white smoke came out of the dark muzzle of the gun, and a bullet was embedded in the sword in Kizaru's hand. What a terrible opponent. After saying a few words, Kizaru transformed into an element and returned to the bow of the warship. Beckman frowned and also landed on the bow of his pirate ship. This guy. He looked at Kizaru with some confusion and asked, "Is that guy strong?" Kizaru scratched his head and said, "Yeah, that guy is a bit strong." Then Kizaru stretched and stood on the bow of the boat, obviously looking like he was about to rest. Crane glanced at Kizaru's wrinkled cloak and knew that this guy was not lying. This simple fight between Beckman and Kizaru was immediately broadcast live to the world. Countless people were shocked that someone could fight on par with Kizaru. Beckman's reputation was immediately raised to a whole new level. But this battle is just an appetizer for the battle in the sky. At this time, above the sky, this world-class battle has been broadcast live to the whole world. The Knights of God and Aokiji were obviously a little shocked when Shanks, Rayleigh, and the three dragons burst out Conqueror's Haki at the same time. Only one Conqueror's Haki can be produced by 1,000,000 people, but there are 3 of them here. Having said that, the 6 people did not stop what they were doing. Although these Haki had an impact on them, it was not much at all, unless they could use Conqueror's Haki to attack. As soon as the thoughts in their minds came to an end, they saw Shanks pull out the long knife from his waist and strike towards them. The red and black slash instantly came in front of everyone. The aura mixed with it showed that this slash was obviously not an ordinary slash. Hit. The same goes for Rayleigh, a golden slash that is not inferior to Shanks also attacks. The dragon on the side was completely hidden under his green robe, but thunder and lightning had already fallen from the sky and struck several people. This move also made Enel on the side look at him frequently, but his movements were not slow either, and powerful and dazzling lightning gathered in an instant. Brontosaurus. 6 thunder dragons rushed towards several people. Seeing this, Crocodile immediately used his own moves. The sand crocodile on his shoulders began to reveal its ferocious mouth, and 6 paths thick yellow sand rushed towards several people. Sand Python. At first glance, it seemed that the Knights of God and the 6 Aokiji were forced into a desperate situation immediately. Everyone who watched the live broadcast was concerned about whether these 6 people were defeated or there was another twist. Everyone wondered. He held his breath and concentrated, not daring to miss the next scene. Chapter 70 Lingqi Celestial Dragons. Advertise here. Ice Age. Whoosh. When Aokiji immediately used his fruit power to resist these moves, the Knights of God on the side had immediately dodged the 2 most powerful slashes. The 5 of them even looked at Aokiji with some mockery as he stood there to resist. Boom. The 2 slashes collided with the ice wall created by Aokiji, and the ice wall shattered. In the end, only a few slashes fell on Aokiji. Because it was entangled with Haki, Aokiji was unable to elementalize immediately, so he had to take this move forcefully, leaving 2 blood marks on his chest. As if the moves of the other 3 were aimed at the Knights of God, they landed directly on the 5 of them. What the 5 people didn't expect was that these moves brought them a lot of pain, especially after being hit by lightning. All 5 people felt a little numb. Enel looked at the 5 people with a smile on his face. He didn't even know how metal conducts electricity. What a bunch of waste. Sure enough, as Brother Madara said, knowledge is power. Since the 5 of them were fighting in iron armor, the power of Raiden's attacks became much more powerful, but Crocodile's moves had little effect. Lin Chen watched this scene secretly and roughly knew that this battle would be a protracted one. Both Laosha and Enel are still a little far away from Admiral, while Shanks and Rayleigh are currently both Admiral-level players who can compete with the Knights of God. Long Zi has always been hidden in his robe, still hiding his strength, and Lin Chen also understands him. Both of them are leaders of the organization, and of course they don't want their true strength to be exposed in front of the world government. Looking at the 11 people fighting on the field, Lin Chen's eyes sparkled. He didn't come here to decide the outcome with the world government and Marine. As long as he tortured and killed Charmok Saint in front of everyone's eyes, then victory would be his. Moreover, a new plan was born in Lin Chen's mind. Thinking of this, Lin Chen immediately controlled the golden lion to slash at Charma with 2 swords. When the first knife fell on Charma body, he immediately burst into a scream of pain. Ah, it hurts. It hurts. Question mark. QG. Plus. %. The strong pain stimulation also made Saint Chalmok sober up for a while. When he saw Aokiji and the Knights of God who often appeared in Mariejois, his whole person burst into tears. Admiral, Knights, come and save me. It hurts. I'm dying. Because Lin Chen had previously cast a cyclic illusion on Charma, causing him to forget all the memories of the pain he had suffered. Therefore, the pain caused by each knife was equivalent to the first time he had suffered such a thing. Pain. This also prevented the body of Saint Chalmok from becoming immune and numb, causing him to suffer very clear torture every moment. When Lin Chen first thought of this method, he was even impressed by his own cleverness. He has become more and more skilled in using illusions in his hands. When everyone in the world watched Charma being cut on his body one by one, they found that he would also burst into a huge scream, with tears and snot flowing all over his face. Even some strong ordinary people are inferior, and the mountain of awe for the celestial dragons in their hearts has begun to crack. When the first knife slowly slashed from Charma back to his calf, the second knife had already followed. Using the same technique, Golden Lion, like an experienced pig butcher, skillfully slashed the knife from Charma arm to his calf. Ah, who can help me? Let me go. I'll give you all my treasures. Let me go. I have many slaves. Give them all to you. There are also many fish people, fur people, dwarves. I will give you whatever you want. Stop cutting me with a knife. It hurts me so much. The 5 elders in Mariejois were so angry that they were speechless, and their eyes were bloodshot. These scenes shocked their brains. You know, this is live broadcast all over the world. This is countless times more serious than the incident in which Lin Chen massacred the Mariejois celestial dragons. The furious 5 elders immediately picked up the phone bug and roared, "Let everyone kill the golden lion immediately, and everyone around him. Let's kill them all together." The angry voices of the 5 elders reached his ears through the phone bug. He sighed in his heart, but still gave the order immediately. At the same time, Kizaru's face on the side also became serious. It might be difficult to paddle next, and he could feel that things were really going to change this time. After stopping Beckman, who wanted to help Shanks, Kizaru's glasses flashed with white light, making it difficult to see his face, and a long sword slowly appeared in his hand. "Boy, let me see how capable you are." Beckman also felt a different pressure from Kizaru than before, and he immediately became serious. The two were fighting in an instant, and the red hair pirates immediately rushed forward when they saw this. Everyone fought together with Kizaru, relying on their numerical advantage to barely draw with Kizaru. The Knights of God in the sky also knew that they could not delay any longer, and they all burst out with powerful auras. Armament Haki has reached an extremely solid point, and observation Haki cannot be underestimated either. Seeing the great change in the auras of these 5 people, the faces of Rayleigh and others also became solemn. Glancing at Crocodile and Enel, Rayleigh said, "You two go fight Aokiji." Crocodile glanced at Rayleigh, obviously dissatisfied, and said, "Old man. Don't underestimate us." Rayleigh glared at Crocodile and said, "It's for your own good to let you go. You will feel better later. Get out of here." Crocodile was a little helpless, but he immediately took Enel out of the battlefield. Upon seeing this, the Knights of God immediately separated 2 people to intercept, but unexpectedly they were stopped by Long Yi. Hey, we can't let you break out of here." The 2 men looked at each other with murderous intent in their eyes. The leader of the Revolutionary Army, Dragon. The man who poses the greatest threat to world government. Now that an opportunity to eliminate this man was right in front of them, the 2 men no longer paid attention to Crocodile and Enel who were leaving, and focused on the dragon. The remaining 3 people looked at each other, 2 stopped in front of Rayleigh and Shanks, and the other looked at Golden Lion's third knife that was about to swing, and rushed towards him without hesitation. He wanted to snatch back Charma before the Golden Lion took action. In the previous battle, they had discovered that this legendary pirate looked dull and did not have the aura of a strong man in him. Look, he just looks like a slightly more powerful pirate, not as imposing as the legendary pirates at all. Thinking that he was about to rescue Saint Chalmok, the knight's speed increased a few points, and victory was obviously around the corner.